What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, your home of the European champions, Europa League champions under Ange Postecoglou. We have got Stel, we have got Sava, we have got Alex. Starting off with Alex. Nice to see you in Bilbao. Nice to see you in the Bricklayers celebrating until, what was it, 1:32 in the morning on parade day.
Late.
How you doing, mate?
No, I'm doing good, mate. No, thank you for having me on. I believe it is my first time on your channel as well. So, no, thank you for getting me on. And, yeah, we're still absolutely buzzing on Cloud9. And, yeah, we had some really good celebrations in the Bricklayers after that. Was a really good night.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm kind of upset the season's finished now because, like, the big get-togethers of the whole fan base is kind of over now. And, you know, we all have to get together again and have a few more celebrations over the summer, that's for sure.
Sure.
Sava, welcome back to the channel, my friend. How you doing?
I'm good. It's funny, you've ignored all my messages for about 2 months then, and then suddenly I get a, hey, Sav, want to come on the channel? I'm good, though. Are you well? You good?
I just didn't like the way the chat was treating you yesterday, so I thought we better make some peace and get you back on.
All good, man. All good.
Good to have you here, Sava. And
Thank you. Good to be here.
Stelios, loving the hat, loving the party vibes.
I don't think he's taken that hat off for about for 5 days. I think he sleeps with it on, I think.
Not coming off. Are you? Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, how you doing?
Yeah, listen, I've hated this club for 5 years. Absolutely resented everything about it. And I'm back in love with my club for now. So I'm happy, as you can see. And I had to wear the hat because I knew Savile was going to be on, and he calls it a stupid hat. So I thought I'm going to wear it.
What's stupid about it?
I actually, it's not me who said that, but yeah, it's a funny hat.
See,
I like seeing Stel smile. It's nice. It's nice.
Stel, before we get going, is there anything that you want to say?
is anything? Well, we're all here. We're all here, Stel. We're all gathered here today, Stel. We've got everyone here. I think it's time.
Just want to say thanks for having me on, and let's get going. Sim, you were right. I was wrong. I owe you an apology. Sim, I'm sorry.
Hey. Thank you. Stel, that warms my heart. And I accept your apology graciously. And I appreciate you. It's a big man to accept when he's wrong. I'm sure Sava will do soon. And we're going to get into this. But thank you, Stel. I've been waiting for that. It's touched my heart. It was a very sincere apology.
I feel ill. I feel so ill.
And that's not just the celebrating you've done for the last 5 days.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But look, let's enough of that.
The comments are welling up, I'm seeing. They've got tears in their eyes.
Yeah, Stel's a muppet. Stel's a flip-flop. Stel's a gas. Stel's a, yeah.
Stel, there's nothing wrong with being a flip-flop. There is nothing wrong at
all. I haven't flip-flopped yet. We'll get into it. I haven't flip-flopped yet. Not yet. I'm a one flip-flop, not two, just one flip-flop.
Nah, you're fully Havanaed up, mate. But look, let's get into it because there's a lot to talk about in terms of Ange Postecoglou. And look, we're still in limbo. We don't know if he's going to be here next season or not. We've seen Cuti Romero come out with quotes suggesting that potentially he wants him to stay and his future's potentially aligned with the manager. We'll start with you, Alex. What's your feeling on the manager? Where do you sit with it? And do you want him here or not?
Well, yeah, I'm still unchanged, unlike some other people that I have seen change. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter flip-flopping, people who have been Ange out just as much as I have, and it's very disappointing to see them flip-flopping, but I do understand it as well, I do. You know, the emotions are getting over some people, and yeah, it's a very emotional and very memorable moment for us Spurs fans right now. We've not won, that was our first trophy in 17 years, first European trophy in 40 years, so of course some people are going to change their views on things because it's a very sentimental moment and it's going to take over some people. But for me, I'm unchanged, and I still want this man gone, you know, and now is the right time. It's a perfect time right now for the manager to move on, and both parties to, you know, to make way. And I'm off on a little bit, but let me. What I'm trying to say is, it's a great time for him to go. He's just won a trophy. I don't think he can't win anything better than this for Tottenham. I don't think he'll win us a Premier League. I don't think he'll win us a Champions League. So, you know, for me, in my opinion, his work here is done, and it would make a lot of sense for him to leave now, and for us to get someone else better in this season, who I think would take us into a lot better stead in the Premier League next season, because I don't think Ange is a Premier League manager, and I really fear for this football club having Ange in charge in the Champions League next season, come up against the likes of City, Barcelona, Bayern, Madrid. You know, these teams would slap us up under the way that Ange is playing. But what I will say is, he has actually changed his ways in the last 2 or 3 knockout games. The Frankfurt one, the Bordeaux one, and then the final. We didn't really play with any inverted wing backs. We didn't play with a high line. So he has shown that he can change the way he plays, which is so nice to see, but also at the same time frustrating, because why could he have not been able to do that in the Premier League? We would not be where we are right now in the Premier League if he was able to, you know, if he changed it up during then. You know, we wouldn't be sitting 17th with 22 Premier League defeats, which in my opinion is absolutely disgusting to see my football club down there. So if he is willing to change the way he plays, and we do stick with him for next season, and he doesn't go back to that suicidal football, then I might be able to get back, but I might be able to get behind him. But right now, I don't really see a future under this manager, and I wouldn't like to see him spend any more money at this club as well. He's spent 400 million, and a lot of it has been on kids as well. So there's a big decision for the club to make in these next coming weeks, but it needs to be made very, very soon. I've heard that Andrew's gone on holiday now too, so nothing will be getting done until he gets back. But before the pre-season starts, we need to know as fans if we're going to go into next season with Ange or someone else. Like Oliver Glasner, for me, is top of my list right now. I would like to bring him in and bring Walton and Eze along with him. But yeah, that's how I stand on things right now, boys.
Sava, first and foremost, how did winning the Europa League under Ange Postecoglou make you feel?
Relieved. Happy but relieved. Moving on from Alex's sentiment, relieved after the season this man has had. This was absolutely shit or bust. If he hadn't have won that, he would have gone down as the worst manager to ever manage Tottenham Hotspur, and that's the fine line in football. And that's not my feelings. That's actually statistically and factually. I've just created a new word there. Correct. So I think he had to for him. He had to for us. I think it was so important for a number of reasons. I've seen loads of videos that say Sava doesn't want to win the Europa League. On the contrary, we had to win the Europa League, because otherwise we would have been sitting in 17th in the league, no European football next year. The likes of Cuti Romero wouldn't even be a question. It would be, he's definitely leaving. The money wouldn't be there because of the way we know the club operates. There'd be no Champions League revenue. We'd be £37 million down in revenue from last season in Premier League prize money. So I think that it was a relief more than anything. I think it was the ultimate get out of jail free card. And what I'm seeing at the moment is look, for what it's worth, Ben and Sim, for what it's worth, I don't think he's leaving, right? I think everybody on this panel and everybody in your chat doesn't need me to sit here and say Ange out, Ange out, Ange out. You all know I don't rate the manager, right? Is that fair? You all know.
Fair. Yeah.
Right, fair. You all know I don't rate him. However, I don't think he will go because of what happened Wednesday night. I lean to the side of what Alex said. For me, this is very much sentiment because of a cup run rather than his actual ability as a football manager. Now, I might eat my words on that next season. I might. Absolutely. But right now, you've got those that purely go, well, we just won a trophy. That's great. We did. But I've never, ever, 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 ever in my 40 years of supporting Tottenham seen us finish 17th. Yeah, conceding 65 goals. I've seen it once. We've conceded 66 once, which was in 92-93. So that was the first ever Premier League season. He's conceded 65 goals. That is utterly abysmal and tells me he can't set up a back four, right? This is the most ever defeats this club has had in a 38-game season. We've lost 22 before, but that was in a 42-game season back in the 1970s when we got relegated. Right? This is the first time since 1935. Right? Since we've lost that many games. 1935, right? Mm-hmm. So all of that for me, this is where I am still Ange out. I don't need to sing it from the rooftops, but all of that for me isn't covered over by winning the Europa League when we were favourites anyway. Now, whether or not I thought we were going to win it at the beginning of the season is irrelevant. The bookies made us favourites, so we were in with a shout, right? That for me isn't enough. Just for me personally, I know everyone wants to go mad, and I'm not going mad here. That isn't enough for me to say, yeah, you're the manager I trust, because Alex just got it nail on the head. If he can adapt in the Europa League, sorry, I'm paraphrasing a bit, Alex here, so sorry if I'm adding any bits in on my own. But if this manager can adapt in the Europa League away from his gung-ho, chaotic, awful football, which loses every week in the Premier League, if he can adapt to save his job, which is what he did in the Europa League, then I'm questioning the man's... I don't know. I'm questioning, why have you gone back? Every game in the Premier League this season, he reverts back to that chaotic, shambolic mess. I've got this real tug of war in my head, guys, of why? Like, you've seen we can defend when we don't play inverted fullbacks. You've seen we can defend when you actually have a double pivot in front of the back four instead of three midfielders going gung-ho. But yet we get to the Premier League and he just goes, go on, everyone, have 20 shots at our goal again. And that's, sorry for the rant, but this is what the worry for me, Ben, Sim, is what are we now? What's our identity, right? And what are we going to be going into the beginning of next season? What are we buying players for? Are we buying players for the chaotic, gung-ho football where everyone just dunks on us? Or are we buying players for the 10 men behind the ball, defending really well? That's how we got over the line in Europa League. So I'm a bit confused after 2 years as to what are we? I also acknowledge that I don't think he's going anywhere. So for me, what's more important now than the Ange in, Ange out chat? Everyone knows I don't want him here. Everyone knows if he gets sacked, I'll be happy. What's more important for me now is, what do we now do in the transfer window? And what I don't want to see, Ben, from people like you, and from you, Sim, I'm going to put you in there as well.
Come on.
And from all these other YouTubers, I don't want to see these videos in the summer of, this signing is perfect for Ange Ball. He completes. I don't want to see that, because none of you know what we are anymore. He abandoned.
I'll tell you
Ange
what we
Ball.
are, Sava. I'll tell you exactly what we are. We're European
boring.
champions.
Yeah.
It's not boring, because it was less than a week ago that we won the final out in Bilbao.
Sure.
We are European champions. Puff your chest out, Sava. Have a smile on your face, man.
Ben, sure. Listen, when we're going to do all that banter and all that stuff, brilliant. But everything I've just said there, guys, you can't deny that any of that is not true. Factually, everything I've just said there is true. So for me, what I need to see is that this manager isn't just going to manage properly when his job is on the line. I need to see him adapting weekly in the Premier League to the opposition we're playing. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's negative. I need to see him adapt. I don't know why that's looked at as though I'm some real big, toxic, negative guy. This is our worst ever Premier League season, chaps. Ever.
Agreed.
Lowest number of points, lowest league finish, most number of defeats. For me, that can't be swept under the carpet. So I'm asking you, let me throw it back to you, Ben and Tim. Tell me any of what I've just said there isn't true, and tell me that this manager doesn't need to adapt in the Premier League next year.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Right.
I agree with that sentiment completely. But the way I look at it is, I feel like you said correctly that he has adapted towards the end of the Europa League run in Frankfurt, in Bodo, in the final. So is that not telling us that after winning the cup final in Bilbao, he deserves the chance to show that he can adapt next season in the Premier League as well?
Sure. I mean, Ben, listen, this is the interesting point. And listen, this is the argument. I know everyone thinks Stella and I agree with each other and anything, but honestly, if you see our WhatsApp chats, we really don't, do we still? We really go at each other, right?
No.
I get the whole he deserves to stay because of that, and that's fine. If he stays, he stays. We're just football fans. It's just opinions. He stays, right? But Ben, there's a difference between adapting because your job is on the line. Let's be brutally honest. If he
His job will
hadn't
be
have
on the
won
line at
that,
the start of next season as well.
Ben, sure, but the point is, we've seen this for 2 years that these tactics don't work in the Premier League. He should have adapted, right? For example, when we battered Man City, I thought, I think you've learned. A little bit of me was like, has he learned? Has he learned now that if you actually go to a back four that doesn't invert and don't go gung-ho, we're actually really good on the counter-attack and in transition? And then we went on a 10-game run where we didn't win a game because he went back to gung-ho wide-open football. That's all I need to see from my point of view.
And had a 12-man injury crisis as well. But
you
can go overlook that if you want.
Sim, we can go through that. But the problem is, Sim, when people talk about a 12-man injury crisis, this form under Ange has been 20 months long, right? In 20 months, he's lost 34 games in 66. So when people just say it's injuries, it's not just the injuries. This is what the form was like before the injuries, after the injuries, during the injuries. 34 and 66, Ben, right, is atrocious for any Tottenham manager, right? So for me, I've got to see that he can adapt when his job is not on the line. And now it's going to be interesting to see, what is he next year? What are we? Are we the gung-ho team that we went straight back to against Brighton, against Wolves, against Palace? Are we that team, or are we this 10 men behind the ball team? Because I was told that fans didn't want the 10 men behind the ball. They won't put up with that for 38 Premier League games. So he's got to find a hybrid model for me of how to connect the defence and the attack. I think that's. I don't think that's crazy.
Sava,
I think you're. Go on.
I just wanted to bring in Stel because Stel hasn't. I want to know where Stel's at with it because he seems very happy and jovial in his hat, and I'm loving to see it. And he's offered the apology to Sim this morning, today, at the beginning of the stream. So I want to know from Stel where he's at with the whole debate.
Just like Ange, a man of his word.
Yeah, it's a Greek thing, right? I think I was lucky to go to Bilbao, get a ticket, find an affordable route to get there. I was lucky to experience it. I was lucky to be in the fan park, to come back, to be at the parade, and it was just amazing. It was simply outstanding, the whole thing. I didn't realise how big of a club we actually are. Our fan base is much bigger than what I thought, and it showed in Bilbao. It showed in the stadium on match day, and it showed at the parade. We're a big football club. And I forgot that. I just assumed this is just a big business. The club's shit. I wasn't going to renew my season ticket. I spoke to JP on my channel, said, I'm not renewing. Then, of course, they sucked me back in. and I renewed yesterday. Look, I came back from Spain, and very, very quickly, this whole Ange in, Ange out debate was going on. And I was a bit surprised how quickly we got to that place, but that's where the fans are. And it was kicking off on Twitter, on YouTube, and I was on shows, and it was all very much a lot of frustration, a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of logic, a lot of stuff that I don't think makes too much sense. But in the grand scheme of things, I think what the issue is at the moment is I don't know what fans want. And I mean that. I don't know what fans want. In my view, we've wanted a trophy to stopped being called Spursy, bottle jobs, flop Spur. We needed to get a trophy. And I think Ange realised that, and he sussed that out. It's whether he was going to do it or not. I never believed for 1 second he was going to do it because his tactics have been kamikaze. He hasn't developed players, nowhere near enough. And I feel like a lot of his media post-match, pre-match interviews, he's bullshitted us. So I've got a lot of concerns about this manager, which haven't gone away. But if you give me 15th every year and a trophy, I will take that. I'm one of those fans. But for a lot of fans, they won't take it. It's unacceptable to be low in the league. Some fans want trophies. Some fans want league position. Some fans want both. It depends what you're prepared to tolerate as a Spurs fan. I think that's where a lot of the Ange in, Ange out lies. because for me, I now believe if we keep him and give him the start of the season to see what he can do, I think he can win us trophies. I do believe he can win us trophies. Whether we can finish high up in the league, I don't know. Whether he can do both, I think that comes down to whether the board wants to invest in quality players to build a squad. But I'll leave it with this, guys. I'll leave it with this. We've had Poch, we've had Conte, we've had Mourinho, we've had AVB, we've had Redknapp. They've all had chances to win and to be winners at Tottenham. We know Mourinho and Conte are elite winners. Conte's just done it in Italy without Kvaratskhelia, without Osimhen, with McTominay midfield. He's won Serie A against a damn good Inter Milan team that's going to be playing in the Champions League. So we know we've had winners at this club. They've all had opportunities to win and they failed. People will say that Ange had an easy route to the final. Well, Pochettino dismissed the easier cups. He dismissed those competitions and he lost to Colchester United in a cup game. So he failed. Mourinho, if you guys remember, he lost to Norwich, an easy game in the cup. We got kicked out. Eric Dyer ran into the stands. Norwich got relegated that season. He couldn't beat them when it mattered as a Tottenham manager. He lost to Dinamo Zagreb, not exactly the hardest European team. 2-0 up. We lose 3-0. Their manager's in prison, FaceTiming the team at half-time. Mourinho, he lost that so-called easy game. Conte, another manager. He loses to St Etienne and all these European Conference League teams. They're not hard. He loses to them. We played Sheffield United in the cup. Guess what? They got relegated that season. He loses to them. I was at that game.
Can I throw a counterpoint to that, though, Stel, just quickly?
Yeah, let me finish my point and then 100%.
Go on, yeah, because that's not...
We've had managers at this club who came up against easy competition on the journey to win cups and they failed. This guy, he found a way. And when it mattered, when it really mattered in that final, he showed to me that he's got a winner in him as a Spurs manager because he played the right players in the right position. He didn't flirt with playing someone in the 10 because we were saying before the game, is he going to play Son there? What about Odegaard? Because Bergvall, Maddison and Kula are all injured. He didn't do any of that. He said, I'm going to start my experienced midfielders who are fit. Sarr, Bissouma, Bentancur. He didn't play any of the youngsters across the front three. He went with Johnson, Slanky, Richarlison. He got that starting lineup right. Pochettino in the final, and I love Poch, he starts with Sissoko, Winks in midfield and an injured Harry Kane. And no emotional sentiment. I'm a winner. Son, bench. And with 15 minutes to go, he brings on Danzo, goes to a back three at centre back, a back five overall, locks it down and says, United, break it down because I don't think you can. Gets it over the line. That was a winning play. Poch couldn't do it. Conte, Jose, and I love these managers. I think they're better managers than Ange. I think they're all better than Ange. But when it mattered at Tottenham, Ange showed winning pedigree. And for me, and that reason alone, guys, I think he deserves the start of next season. I'm not Ange in because I've told you I've got big concerns about this guy. But he's shown me where all the others couldn't, he can win here. And with the right backing this summer, with some quality players, not 8 youngsters, I think he'll win again. I do now believe that. And that's why I'm Ange in for the start. But Ange, you've got to show me you can adapt now. And you've got to show me that winning mentality isn't just in the Europa. You can do it in a league campaign. And that's where I'm at, guys. And if I get called a flip-flop, embarrassing, I'm going to unsubscribe from Tottenham away. And Stel is a whatever, say it. But I always say it as I see it. And I saw something that I've not seen from any other manager at Spurs in 15 years. And we've had some great managers at this club. So that's what I'm at with.
Didn't he? Sorry, guys. Can I just rebuttal on that? Again, I don't disagree with what you've said there still in terms of him and the other managers. But at the same time, the other managers weren't having to lose every single game every week in the Premier League to make that happen. We've got a manager that's basically said he threw half the season so that he could get past AZ Alkmaar, Frankfurt, Bodo Glimt, and the worst ever Man United team we've seen. So, like this is where, when I'm trying to bring a bit of balance to this, yes, he's got over the line in the cup, but at the detriment of, with that, like I've never seen, and neither of you, I know your age, we've never seen Spurs this shit in the league, ever. We've never, ever seen Spurs this shit in the league. So if we're saying to win that level of trophy, this is what we have to do every year, I don't get it. And the worry is next year still, when you're saying he can win more trophies, and let's hope he does, right, if he is here, right? If we're saying he can win more trophies, well, he's not winning a Champions League. He's not winning the Premier League. If you come up in the FA Cup and League Cup, you are going to come up against the Premier League's best teams. And this year, he's shown he can't balance two competitions. He's shown he can't beat the top teams regularly. So I don't get that because he managed that one-off game against Man United in the final, it shows that suddenly he can win more games. And I know you don't think that the league position matters, but isn't any of you embarrassed that this is the worst we've ever seen from Tottenham in the Premier League? Like the worst ever, factually, not me. Everyone says Sava stats, not my stats. Factually still. 22 defeats and 26 defeats in all competitions is disgusting.
But it's also our first European trophy in 40 years. You can't. I
don't disagree with that. But this is why I'm
saying it's also the length of time you're saying is the worst ever in the Premier League. But it's also our first European trophy in 40 years.
Absolutely.
40. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And in terms of what you're saying, though, in terms of what you're saying, like he said he had to throw the league so he could win these Europa League games. You're missing massive context out of that. We've had massive injury crisis. He's managing this situation. Clearly, during this injury crisis, our team hasn't been able to cope. Our second team, we're playing Gray, we're playing all these youngsters in that period, right? They're not good enough, clearly, not experienced enough, not good enough to be winning games consistently at this kind of level, right? So he's made a decision when he's managing these players, Romero, Van de Ven, they can't come back and then play 2 games a week and play Europa and Premier League. He has to manage that because he's shown before, because they're coming back from 4-month injuries, right? He brought them back too early as well. That was his mistake. But he brought that happened, and he's bring them back. And he's basically at that point he's saying, okay, I'm bringing them back. Do I use them for these Europa League games and rest them in the Premier League, or do I go, or do I try and either do a hybrid, use them for try and use them both, and maybe risk them breaking down, or do I prioritise the Premier League, try and improve our league position, and maybe rest them in Europa League? He made a decision. If I don't use them in Europa League, we're not going to win that competition. We're going to go out. I have to use them, and that means he can't use them in the Premier League. That means he's playing the likes of Gray, he's playing the likes of Ben Davies, he's playing the second string in the Premier League, and it's not about just chucking them away. Obviously, I'm sure he's trying to win those games, and he wasn't good enough to win those games, but the team wasn't good enough. If you did a combined 11 for a lot of the games we were playing, right, in the Premier League, a combined 11 with the opposition, I bet you a lot of the opposition wins out in the teams we were playing, because we were playing our first 11 in those Europa League games. And in terms of all these stats you're saying about, 65 goals conceded, all this kind of stuff, absolutely. We concede a lot of goals, but here's a fact. When we've had Romero, Van de Ven, Vicario, we've played.
I'm going to rip this apart.
I'm going to rip this apart. We've played 16 games. We've played 16 games this season and conceded 15 goals. So it's not like our defence is absolutely ridiculous when we've had our best choice 11. When we've had the likes of Gray and Davis, and obviously Dan says new to the club. Dragoshin is very young. He's been injured as well. Yeah, the defence hasn't been good enough. And how many teams, to be honest, if you look at the Premier League, how many teams are Davis and Gray at centre-back get in? Probably not many, because they're not good enough to be playing, week in, week out at that level. So I think when you say a lot of these things, you're missing a lot of the context.
Can I come back on that? Okay, if you want context, let's use the injuries and the context correctly. I've seen you do this before on your show, Sim, where you chuck out the injury list without actually knowing the detail. I love this. So of the 22 defeats we've had this season, 13 of those defeats have been when we've had a fully fit squad with less than 2 players injured, right? 13 of the 22 defeats, he's had nearly a fully fit squad to pick from. So this notion that we only lose because of the injuries is absolutely wrong. We lost 5 of our first 12 games when the first team were all available. 5 in 12, nearly 50%, right? In the last 12 games of the season, right, where we've won 1 game, all the players have been back fit, other than Kulusevski, who missed, what was it?
Did you not hear what I just said, though?
Hang on, listen. Let me finish. Let me finish him. Right now, if we then stretch this even further back into last season, I heard the exact same excuses last season when we got the injuries. Watch when they come back. It's not Ange's fault. Then when they all came back, we had a disastrous end to last season as well with our first team players, with Van de Ven, with Romero. Now, when you look at that stat of when Van der Ven, Romero and all them have played together, first and foremost, ask yourself a few questions, right? Van der Ven and Romero were injured for a large chunk of the season because this man rushed them back too quickly against Chelsea. So first of all, you have to ask yourself, what was he doing? Second of all, if you actually look, that stat is based across 2 seasons and not one. When people tell me it's 2 seasons, one
Which
season.
What stat?
The stat of that back 5 playing together and what happens when they play together.
That stat I was talking about was this season.
The stat of 16 games this season.
Yeah, and 15 goals conceded. That's this season.
This season?
Yes, this
Are you
season.
Sure?
Now
Mickey Van der Ven,
facts. I'm telling you.
Mickey Van der Ven's only played about 19 games all season. Right? And
Him
he was losing games.
Romero and Vaccaro played together in 16 games and 15 conceded them this season.
Hang on. Right?
Okay.
If you know, Sim, so can I ask them, why is it then in that 66 games, why have we lost 34? Like, I know we only used the injury crisis this season as the chunk. What about 20 months of data that has been the worst in the club's history? Right? No, I know people, listen, I get it. Right now, people in the chat are going to be going, oh, Sava hates us, blah, blah. Yes, injuries affect you. No one is saying they don't, but not to the tune of 22 league defeats. 22 league defeats is utterly shambolic, Sim.
Obviously, it's not good enough. I completely agree. No.
Hang on.
Right,
I sat and listened to your whole thing, right?
Okay.
22 league defeats. No, that is relegation. This is the first time a team has had 22 league defeats and not got relegated. Just to let you know how bad we've been in the league.
I get you, but just for context, me and Ben went through the last 10 years and we wouldn't have been relegated in any of them. So just saying that.
That's fine. But listen to what I'm saying. 22 defeats. This is the first time it's ever happened and a team has not been relegated with that number of defeats. The fact that you've just said to me, we went through it and we wouldn't have been relegated, shows you how bad. Sim, let me talk, man. Come on.
Okay.
Right?
Go on.
The fact that you are saying, well, we wouldn't have got relegated in any other year, shows you just how bad we've been that we're even looking up to see if we would have been relegated in a year. So, yes, magnificently won the Europa League, but over 2 years, he has shown he can't hack it in the Premier League, right? If you've got an injury crisis, Sim, and this is basics, I'm sure the others will, even those that are now ANGE, don't care which Stell is now. He's not ANGE in, he's ANGE don't care, right? If you have got an injury crisis, if you cannot play Mickey Van der Ven and Romero, right, and you need Mickey Van der Ven for the high line, this is real basic stuff. Don't play the high line, right? If you've got Archie Gray who's playing at centre-half, who's not a real centre-half, stop inverting your fullbacks. Ask the fullbacks to stay tight to him. Help him out. Talk him through the game. Drop the line 10 yards a little bit. But this manager has continued to play the same way in all the Premier League games, no matter who we're playing. We lost at home to Ipswich with a full-strength team. We lost away to Palace with a full-strength team. We lost at home to Leicester City with 1 in 16. We were the team they beat. Sim, I'm not taking anything away from the Europa League. And still, we've had this chat a lot. Brilliant, he won the Europa League. But as a manager, I'm looking at the whole 2-year stint and going, you can't coach in the Premier League. And I don't think that's wrong. The stats back me up over 2 years.
Can I, Sim, can I just jump in on this? A few things. I think he can coach in the Premier League. As in he can get results because we finished 5th in the first season. Yes, 1 game a week. That's where he's got to. That's where he's got to learn to rotate and adapt, which is why I've got concerns.
Which he needs a squad for. He needs a squad for it.
But yes,
he had players that he refused to use, right, Stel?
Sab, 1 minute. Let me finish my point here. He's proven he can finish higher up in the league. However, there are games this season where he's been very stubborn and it's cost us, and it's all on him. And Sava's right. If you haven't got your fully fit squad who can't make recovery runs, stop the high line. However, having said that, in the last couple of months, I don't think it matters as much because we knew many games ago it was impossible to get relegated. So the last 5-6 league games meant nothing because we weren't getting relegated. That was in the bag. And what he did was he stopped playing the high line. We didn't play high line against West Ham, against Aston Villa, against Brighton. We still lost. But he is learning not to play that high line all the time. City. But that was earlier on, though. I'm talking recently. And in Europe, he said, right, I'm not doing that. And it worked. So I think he's shown
credit for
signs,
that.
right? Well, I'm just giving examples. He has shown
Yeah.
signs that he can adapt, but he's got to do it far more frequently and in a game that's not working. And the last thing I'll say, you said, Stel, don't you feel embarrassed to be finished 17th? I'm not happy with it. It's why I'm not ANGE in. I've got concerns. But I'm not embarrassed by it because that Europa Cup win, which he targeted, he put the club in a do-or-die situation. Because he pulled it out the bag, no one's calling us Spursy, bottle jobs. No one's calling us Flopspur. All the gooners, emergency generational meetings, panic mode, the Chelsea fans quiet. We shut everyone up. Talk Sport, all these pundits, silence now. So I'm not embarrassed. Far from it. Because he won
I understand that. I am.
How do you not win the trophy? I know you are, but you asked me what how I feel, right?
Let Alex come in because he hasn't spoken in a while.
What I want to say is I'm very disappointed in Still. I can't believe how much flip-flopping I'm hearing right now. He was more Ange out than I have ever been this season. And to see him come on his side now, it has shocked me a little bit. I understand his points as well, but I do not see a future.
You're not allowed to change your opinion, Alex.
I do not see a future with this football manager at my football club. He's not a Premier League manager. He's not competent. The teams he's facing
Can
in
an
Europa League.
incompetent manager finish fifth? All right, go on. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
The teams that we face in Europa League, we should be beating them. I know you can only beat what's in front of you, but every manager that's above Ange in the Premier League would have beaten the teams we played in Europa League and would have won Europa League. We were favourites at the start of the competition, and we were favourites during the competition. The best teams we faced in Europa League, bar United in the final, were Galatasaray and Roma. We failed to beat both.
Frankfurt.
We lost to Galatasaray and we drew to Roma. The teams we're playing in that competition, they are nowhere near the same level of football in the Premier League. You know, that's why we didn't really struggle to get to the final. The teams in the Premier League, every manager a lot of managers that Ange has come up against has scored Ange. I just do not see a future with this guy one bit. And right now, like I said earlier, it's a great time to part ways. Everyone's happy. He's just done something that no one has done in 17 years for us. He's won our first European trophy in 40 years. It's a big deal. And I think he would hold a lot of regard in him leaving now. You know, I think he'd have a lot more respect, both him leaving now and both clubs parting with each other, than to carry on next season, like what we saw with Ten Hag. When United won FA Cup, he should have gone after that. They kept him. Things continued in the Premier League. They sacked him mid-season. Yeah, they got Amorim in, who I actually rated at the time, and I wanted to sack Ange and get him in, but obviously it didn't happen. But my fear is you keep Ange, you go into next season, results carry on the same, you sack him midway through the season, and there's no good available managers for us to bring in. That's why you've got to do it now, in the summer. You get the new manager in, he gets his pre-season in, he gets the summer window in, he gets the players that he wants in, and you start again and you start fresh, because I can see what way this is going, and I don't want it to go the way it went with Ten Hag. I really don't, and that's my biggest fear.
The thing is, Alex, I don't understand this, right? Because we've been craving for this moment for our whole lives, pretty much. You know what I mean? A European competition. We haven't done it since 1984. We've been craving for a manager to be able to get us over that line. As you've all mentioned, all the managers that have walked in and walked out of this door with nothing to show for it, right? He's given us the best day of our Spurs supporting lives, a parade down Tottenham High Road, something that we've all been dreaming of for so many years, you know? It's unbelievable what I'm hearing about not wanting to give him a chance and a fair crack of the whip to go at it next season. I've been Ange out all season, but when he delivers something like that for us, it's only right to give him the chance to prove that he can do the job next season. He's proved everyone wrong. He's said he's.
Can I ask you a question then, Ben?
1 second.
Can I ask you a question?
1 second. He's proved. He said to everyone that he's going to win something in his second season. Everyone laughed at him. I laughed at him. Stel laughed at him. Sava laughed at him. Alex probably laughed at him. Sim probably didn't laugh at him. Sim believed it. Sim believed it. But he's actually come. He's delivered, and he's done it. And we've watched Tottenham celebrate, and we've had the best day of our Spurs supporting life. Like, I don't understand. Like, can we not just sit here and like enjoy the moment and without calling for the manager's head? Keith Birkinshaw, the great Keith Birkinshaw, right? He's the last manager that won a European trophy for us. He got relegated. He got relegated as Spurs manager and came back up and won trophies for us and won a European competition. Yes, Ange has had a terrible season in the league and it's completely unacceptable. But I think the moment he wins that trophy for us, he deserves to take us into the season.
If that's true, okay, if that's true, first and foremost, I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say, can't we just sit here and enjoy it? When the question wasn't, are we enjoying it? The question was, do you want Ange or not? They're two very different things. I think that's really disingenuous.
Enjoy Ange, Sava, enjoy him.
But you've also called your show the Great Ange Debate and then said, why can't we all just sit here and enjoy it? So you need this content or you won't be doing it, right? So let's not be disingenuous here, right? Second of all, you've got to remember, you're saying he's given us the best day of our lives, right? That's great. But let's now look, right? There's a huge difference between being very happy that we won a trophy and looking at the bigger picture with this football manager. For me, and I know for many, yeah, I know it's very divided, the fan base at the moment, but I think for people like me, for people like Alex, people like Stel before Wednesday night, we were all looking at this manager and going, yeah, this is absolutely shambolic. You can't coach, right? Now, for some people, I get it, that the difference of 90 minutes has changed for them, that, oh, he can coach. For me, it hasn't, because the body of work, the main bulk of work we do as a football club is the Premier League. The main bulk of work where you've seen this manager fail is in the Premier League. Now, listen, I'm not on here, by the way, Sim, Ben, so I'm not in here to change any of your minds. I'm not doing that. I don't care. Be Ange in. And I'm not sitting here going, Ange out, Ange out, Ange out, Ange out. I just don't rate him. I think he's had a nice run to the final. I think he had to win it. He did win it. Absolute credit. Give him credit for that. But for me, I look at these points, and I know that these are points that my man Stel's been talking about all season as well. I've been talking about. Alex probably has. Many people have. I look at one, no players are improving under him. So in 2 years at this club, I look at him as a coach and go, has anyone improved? And I don't think they have.
Not improved a single player since he's come in.
Right?
Not a single one.
Brennan?
Hang on. What I think he's what do you mean, Brennan? Brennan gets in the box and taps the ball home.
He's upped his output. Is that not improving? Upping output?
But he scored goals at Nottingham Forest.
Now
For me, I'm talking about... Hang on, I'm talking about
this many goals in the Premier League for Nottingham Forest. In the Championship, he did.
Hang on,
Anyone can score.
Let him finish. Go on, Sava. Let him finish. Go on.
Right. I'm talking about as footballers. I'm looking at all of them, and I can't see one footballer where I go, yeah, he's really worked on that with you. Yeah, your touch is better, your control's better. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at what he's done with our youth, and I don't think he's coached any of them through. I think this is a good crop of youngsters that we've got that he hasn't given game time to when we have had injury crisis to, right? I'm looking at all the results. I'm looking at the way we're set up. We are so wide open. And that doesn't matter whether Romero or Van der Ven play or not. We are so wide open with the same tactical flaws every game that we've got managers of other teams going on to Monday Night Football going, yeah, this is how I did it. This is how I beat them. And you're like, yeah, well, that's basic, where our manager doesn't adapt. So I'm happy for anyone that wants to be Ange in. I'm cool with that. And if we're basing that solely on a cup, brilliant. I'm not basing it solely on the cup. I'm looking at the bigger picture for me, that in the Premier League, I think he's done a really poor job. And all of the facts, the stats, the data, the defeats, the goals, whichever way you want to spin it, is not good. It's beyond poor. And that's been 20 months. It's not been one season. That's been since November 2023. This has been the worst form we've ever had as a football club. 34 defeats in 66 games is absolutely unheard of.
It's disgusting.
So, sure, have a go at me. Think I'm ungrateful. But for me, football isn't just about a cup run. Yeah, brilliant. You've won the trophy. For me, now bring in a manager that can cope with 2 games a week, because this manager can't.
Wait, Sava, can I just say, is Lucas Bergvall improved? Yeah,
but Lucas Bergvall's an 18-year-old that by playing...
so that doesn't count. Okay, he doesn't count.
No, hang on, Sim. But youngsters, when they come into the team, when we're saying have they improved, they've got nothing to improve from. They're starting out, right? They're playing. I'm talking about, has Papa Sarr improved in 2 years? Has Basuma? Has Madison? Has Mickey van der Ven? Udogie as a defender, has he improved for 2 years? He's not the same player I saw in Udinese. Has Porro improved offensively?
Have you not seen Udogie over the last few weeks? Porro's also been brilliant over the last couple of months.
A few weeks is fine, but we're talking about over the Udogie I saw at Udinese is much better than the Udogie I see at Tottenham, right? Because again, he's played as an inverted fullback. right? So we're not allowing him to do what his actual game is. So again, if we're going to now start pretending that all of these players have been coached and upskilled, I just feel that's a bit disingenuous for me.
Can I say something? I want to come back to something Alex said, right? Alex, you said you can't believe I'm a flip-flop, right?
Yeah, I'm very surprised in you changing your opinions. I know the emotions are getting the better of you, and I understand your points as well.
It's not emotional. It's not
you know
emotional,
as well
right?
as I do how incompetent this football manager is.
Let me speak, right? You said, still can't believe you're a flip-flop. If you watch Tottenham away, or you watch We Are Tottenham TV when I've spoken on this channel, I said, if we win the Europa, Ange will deserve to start next season. And I also said, if Ange wins the Europa, I'll come on and apologise to Sim because Sim called it right and I got it wrong. I'm sticking to my word. That's not flip-flopping. It's what I said if it happened. I just never believed it would happen. I said no chance. And also, you bring up Galatasaray and Roma, right? This is interesting. You say the two good teams we couldn't beat. Why didn't they win it then? In fact, why didn't they even qualify for the quarterfinals?
Yeah, it's a good point.
About that. Exactly. But we dismiss it because we didn't beat those two who weren't even good enough to get to the quarters. And regarding, an easy run to the final, I asked people this. Why didn't Poch, Conte, Mourinho, Redknapp, all these managers, why didn't they win the easy games in cup competitions that could have maybe got us somewhere? They all failed at it. Why?
Why did they finish 17th in the league at the same
Poch
time?
lost again. Poch lost to Ghent in the Europa League. That's our best ever Premier League team. He lost to Ghent in the Premier League. It feels so
and
easy.
didn't finish 17th.
Okay, but did he win it? Did he win the competition? For 17 years, they didn't win it.
Poch got us to a Champions League final.
So this goes back to what I said at the start of the show. What do you care more about, trophies or league position? And I think this is where Savra and I differ.
But why can't we have both? I don't understand why we have to accept finishing 17th to win a trophy. Why can't we be competing for the league and still win all the other trophies?
Okay, guys,
a trophy doesn't confirm 17th, doesn't allow for 17th. Okay. There has to be a happy medium.
Brilliant point. I love this point. Why can't we have both? Why can't we get top 6 and win a trophy, right? Why can't we do both? Name one Spurs manager that's done that under Levy. Name one.
Clearly we can't, and maybe we all complain about the owner, don't we?
Name one that's done what we want under this ownership.
Yeah, obviously none of them have. We all know that.
Hang on, Alex, just say Poch got to a Champions League final and finished 4th, mate. Sorry, let's not just forget that and sweep that under the carpet.
I also want to say, would Conte Mourinho win this competition with these group of players that we have right now? Of course they would. Of course they would.
He couldn't beat St Etienne.
The teams that we've come up against.
He lost to Europe.
But that's a different year and a different squad. Like,
Harry Kane.
You saying, Stel, you loved Conte. Let me ask you this question. Do you think Conte, I know you do. I know, I'm just asking. Do you think Conte would have won the Europa League this year with Tottenham?
He was terrible in Europe. No, Conte has a historically terrible record in Europe.
That's not what I asked. It's not what I asked.
So there's no guarantee.
Would he have won? With the teams we played, would he have won?
Yeah. I'll answer it. I think Conte, at this club, under this ownership, couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the way this club runs. Whereas Ange, I don't know how he's done it, but he has been the shield for Levy, the shield for the players. He's taken it all on his neck, never blamed anyone else. He's had the odd pop at a fan in the stadium. And I think that is what carried us on through the season. Whereas Conte, he refused to accept this nonsense. He refused to accept the way this club runs.
True.
To hell with it.
True.
So, and that's why I say, guys, Sava, this is why I say it. Ange, this is why he's a winner at this club. And I think he can be a winner here. I don't think other managers can maybe juggle it here, whereas he has.
Still, I don't disagree with you. Conte, you and I had many conversations about Conte, and I think you are one of the only people who actually realised what I was saying about Conte when I didn't want him here was because Conte was too big for the club for me. And what Conte wouldn't have done, though, and this is where it goes back to trophies versus league position, both, all that stuff. Conte wouldn't have thrown the league. Conte, if he had the injury crisis, would have found a way to get points out of league games. There's the difference.
Yeah, he would have adapted.
And he wouldn't have won the Europa. And he probably wouldn't have won the Europa.
No, sure. And that's where that happy medium is. For me, though, I've never in my life, and I throw this question out in our WhatsApp group still, I did, right? Can anyone name me a manager for any Premier League team in history that's ever lost 26 games in all competitions before?
Yes, Savra, it's unacceptable.
That for me is unacceptable. That for me is It wasn't that we did
because
badly.
we
Hang on,
lost-
Still, let me finish. Let me finish my point on that, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that we went, oh my God, what, we finished 10th and won the Europa League. I could stomach that. 17th, 22 league defeats still, for me, it's just one step too far. So for me, the Europa League then became the get out of jail free card rather than the greatest celebration of all time, because
Can I ask you a question,
otherwise
then?
he would have been the worst manager we've ever had.
Right.
Fine
Let me
lines.
ask you a question.
Fine
Okay,
lines.
let me ask you a question. Right, let me ask you a question because I've never asked you this question actually. He got 5th in his first season.
Yeah.
When we all said if he gets top 6, it's a good start to his career at Spurs. But he did it playing one game a week, right? He didn't have to worry about Europe, and we went out the cups early as well.
Sure.
This year, he's won a trophy, got us Champions League football, but it's been an absolute catastrophe in the league of the highest level.
Sure.
Do you think, based on last year and what you've seen this year from winning a trophy, if he was given 4 or 5 really good players, wait, hold on, Saba, that he could win a cup, wait, hear me out, he could win a cup and finish higher up in the league. Not win it, but higher up in the league.
I think that he would finish higher up in the league. I don't think we're not winning the league. We're not winning the Champions League. And as I said to you, I mean, look. If he has a good cup run, he could. But for me, as I've said to you, as I said to you yesterday, when I look at what like Newcastle had to do to win the League Cup, that was impressive. Newcastle have had to beat Chelsea, Brentford, Everton, Arsenal, and Liverpool. So I looked at that and went, that's impressive. Can I see Ange doing that?
Top 6
and finishing in the top 6? Even Crystal Palace to win the FA.
Yeah, playing one game a week.
Hang on. But when we say this one game a week, right? Again, I want to bring back a little bit of this, right? When we're saying one game a week, in those group stages in the Europa League, everyone's making it out like we were playing the best 11 every game in the Europa League. We weren't. In that Europa League, he was changing the team. Mm-hmm. So we were making
Agreed.
it
was a lot of rotations.
There was a lot of rotation. So when people say playing once a week, guys, I hate to break it to you. If you want to be a big team, fans don't get to sit there and go, oh, but they play once a week. That's what you do when you get into Europe.
Agreed.
You play twice a week.
But we're not in the midst of an injury crisis. We had missing 12 players, and then you're playing your second team for 3 months.
But Ben, this is before the injury crisis as well. Sim. This is before the injury crisis as well. I know you don't like it when I throw this, but everyone who uses the injury crisis fails to span back the entire 66 games that we've been on this bloody awful run. The start of this season, we lost 5 in 12.
And we won 7. And we won 7.
Well, we didn't win 7. We won 6. But you can't.
Well, did we draw any?
Sim,
who did we draw to?
Sim, let me come on.
We must have won 7. I don't remember the draws.
Sim, so you don't remember the first game of the season that we drew?
Okay, first game. So we won 6.
That's what I said.
Okay.
That's exactly what I said. 6. Right, you're so desperate to prove me wrong that you're agreeing with me.
After 12 games, when we beat City, we were 6th and 3 points off
Sure.
3rd.
And do you know what? And the funny thing was about that, Tim, but my point is, even then, that was our worst start to a season for 17 years. I don't know if you know that, right? 5 defeats in 12. It goes to show when everyone's saying, oh, but with Van der Ven, with Romero, well, those boys were playing in these games and we lost those games.
And we won some.
Yes, and we did win some. But the thing is, look at our best wins this season have actually been when those boys weren't playing. This is what makes me laugh about this. Look at the Man City game, which was surely our best win of the season from a league perspective, right? That was Dragusin and Davis. Look at the Aston Villa game. I think it was Dragusin and Van der Ven, or one of them played, right? All of our biggest wins have actually come when Radu Dragusin's been in the back 4. Now, take from that what you will, right? But it goes to show that we can still win games without these injured players. But Ange didn't adapt. Ange didn't change to do that.
That's the concern. That's the concern. That's the concern.
It's a big concern as well.
Listen, guys, I totally agree with you on this. This is why I'm not Ange in. I'm Ange. Let's see if you get it, because he's shown he can adapt. He's shown he can win trophies, but he's also shown that he can just stand still and let the team collapse in the game. I agree with this, which is why I've got big concerns. If we sacked him and brought in Glasner, I'm not going to cry about it. But I feel he deserves a crack at it. I think he's earned the right by proving he can win when all the others couldn't. That's
sure.
this
Still,
is
no,
where we're going to
I'm not
disagree.
sitting here going out. I'm just being asked why I don't rate him as a manager, right? So all I'm saying is I've seen Spurs for 40 years, right? 40 years I watched Tottenham and never felt every week going into a game that we are so bad to watch and that the manager doesn't adapt. Now, if people want to completely ignore that and just talk about the Europa League, let's have that conversation. Unfortunately, guys, we all sit here every year. We want Europe. We need to win today to finish 5th and get Europe. Then when we get into Europe, you get people like Sim going, oh, but these other teams play once a week. Well, yeah, that's why we're in Europe, because we're meant to be a bigger club. That's what we're in Europe
we didn't set ourselves up for it, did we? At the beginning of the season, signing teenagers.
Sure.
And
when I said that at the beginning of the season,
yeah,
I was also called negative and toxic.
Okay.
At the beginning of the season, Sim, when I predicted 7th, I've got all the same people in your chat right now having a pop at me, saying to me, you're negative, you're a prick, you're a clown, Ange will finish 3rd or 4th with this squad. And I'm sitting there, Stel, you know this, we do how much we stream together. I'm sitting there going, why? Like, where do you think we're finishing 3rd or 4th? Then all of a sudden, when what they've said doesn't happen, Sim, right? It's, oh, Sava, you're unrealistic. These players aren't good enough. Well, that's what I bloody said. I said they weren't good enough. And that.
Can I ask you guys all a question? Can I ask the whole panel a question? Sim and Ben, let me ask you guys first, because this summer, if they keep Ange, do you think Ange should walk into the conversation with Levy, recruitment team, whoever it is, and say, look, I've got you top 5 last year. I've got your European glory. You've got your championship, your Champions League money. Look what happened on the high street, the parade. You've seen it. You've smelt it. If you don't get it now, back me with quality players. No more kids. No more pumps on brains.
He said it himself, I think.
Okay, but my question is, if he doesn't get it, should he walk?
Yes, he should walk. And I think that pretty much goes for any manager that walks through this door. Like, you need the tools to succeed in the job, and I don't think he has that. And whether we thought he did at the beginning of season or not, it's definitely evident by now that he doesn't have the tools to succeed in the job. It's irrelevant what we thought at the start of the season. And you cannot go into a season like we did, unprepared for Thursday night football, weekend football. And if he doesn't have the tools to succeed, it's going to be hell of a lot harder next season with Champions League football. I think he should walk, to be honest, because if he doesn't get the tools this summer, when's he ever going to get them?
Does none of that go onto his tactics, though? I mean, when we just keep talking about better players.
Look, his tactics.
At what point are we going to look at his tactics and say, mate, you can't set up?
His tactics for sure have to be scrutinised as well for the way we've managed the league season this year. 100%. I don't disagree with that. I've been a big, I've criticised his tactics all season pretty much, but I have seen signs of adaptability, albeit not much in the Premier League, a little bit in the Premier League, mainly in the Europa League run. But that does give me something to cling on to, that maybe he can do it next season. So I'm not saying we can't sit here and say no, he cannot adapt. It's not in the conversation. He can do it because we've seen it with our own eyes.
When his job's on the line.
Fine, but it's
huge difference.
That's fine, but it's culminated in us in getting a trophy. And also, Savi, his job is going to be on the line at the start of next season. He's going to be fighting for his job from the start of the season.
So, Ben, would you give... let's assume, guys, right? Sorry, if I can just ask a question, right? Let's assume that Spurs spend 150 million this summer, just as a round number, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to debate about how much we're going to spend, but... The problem I have with this theory that a lot of fans have of just give this manager the first 10 games, see how he does, right? First and foremost, you've had 2 full seasons to see how he does in the Premier League. I don't know what 10 games is going to change, right? Mm-hmm. Second of all, and just hear me out, right, guys, all hypotheticals, if we give this manager the 150 million pounds and he signs 5 or 6 players, and then after 10, 15 games, people are going, oh, he's got to go. He's done terrible. He's fighting for his job. It hasn't worked. He's got to go. Now we've written off all of next season, right? You've got a manager coming in exactly the same way Amorim did to Man United, with a group of players that might not play his system. You've got a chairman who's going to say, well, hang on, I've just spent all my budget on that manager. And you've also got, and we all know this, managers are a lot harder to get halfway through a season than they are in the summer. So that's my worry of the let's
I said that
just give
earlier.
him the start of the season. So you see where I'm a bit worried, right? If we bring this to a middle ground, you see why I'm worried about it, right?
Yeah, I understand. But also, if you bring in a new manager now, you've had Ange, who's been in this club for 2 years. He's knows how many times have we heard a manager come into this club, whether it be Conte, Mourinho, we've had even Ange himself. We've heard a lot of managers come in. They're very excited to come and join Tottenham. They've been sold a project, and then they say after a few weeks or a few months or however long, I've only just started to realise what the real problems are of this club. I've only just started to realise what it's like managing this club while being here. So any new manager is going to have to go through that, who we bring in the summer. Ange already knows the problems. He knows what he's contending with. He's already gained success within that chaos, winning the Europa League. In terms of overview of the first 2 seasons at his football club, yes, this league season's been disaster, but a 5th in the first season and a European trophy in the second. I can't think of a manager in the Premier League era for us in their first 2 seasons who's been able to achieve that. So and he wants to stay here. He's not like Conte or Mourinho or who's basically saying to the club, "You're lucky to have me," all this kind of stuff. Like, he wants to work within the parameters of the club. He's proud to be manager of Tottenham. He's always battling against the narratives against Tottenham, right? He knows the problems, and so he's more, I think, equipped in this summer to maybe deal with knowing what's coming ahead rather than a new manager. Yeah, I think he can.
Because for 2 years we've seen no evidence that he can. So what's changed this summer?
Yeah. Sorry?
We've seen no evidence in the Premier League for 2 years that he can. So I'm asking, does a cup win, bearing in mind these are 2 very different things, cup wins and every week negotiating the Premier League, does that cup win suddenly make him tactically astute? Will it stop the inverted fullbacks? Will it stop the high line? Will he implement a number 6? Like, all of these different things.
On the flip side, does finishing 17th and disregard him finishing 5th when his tactics were working in the Premier League?
But the tactics were working for the first 3 months of the Premier League, and then we fell off an absolute cliff, didn't we? And we hung on for dear life. We were losing week after week in the second half.
Only right at the end. If you take last season, right? First 10 games was obviously great. We then obviously had that Chelsea game and we lost two injuries and we had 2 sendings off. We had a little bit of we had a dip in form for the next 5 games. After, I think we lost 4 of the next 5 games after those first 10. Then for the next 16 games, we won 10 and lost 3 and drew 3. So we actually had pretty decent form.
Do you want the stats?
I'm just saying facts. That was pretty good form for those 16 games.
Sure, but it wasn't, because it wasn't good form.
Those are results.
For the first 10 games,
yeah,
we were first in the form table.
Yeah.
For the last 28 games of the season, we were 13th in the form table. So when you're saying that's quite good form, it's not.
Well, I'm taking it in chunks. I'm saying those 5 games we lost 4 and 5.
So it's 10 games versus 28 games.
Okay, so why are you doing your 10 versus 28? I'm making it even more specific, so you can actually get even more context. You're just saying 10 versus 20. I'm saying 10, right? Then we had a little mini injury crisis where we were struggling. Romero, Van de Ven, Maddison, whatever, they're all out for a bit. So we lost 4 of the next 5. We then, for a 16-game block, we won 10 games, drew 3 and lost 3. That's nearly half a season, a 16-game block. Then for the final 7 games of the season, we played the top 5 away from home. And we lost 5 games on the final 7. Okay, look, so that's the content season, and we deserve to finish it. Like we missed out on top 4 on by a point or something.
Sure. Okay.
So it can work.
So then
we would have got top 4, but we chose to back Man City.
Exactly. Sonny
I'm glad.
Names in the Legends book that night.
Okay, so I'm just saying, I'm saying that they can work in the Premier League, those tactics. Now it's about, can he do it?
Yeah, but this season,
he's not been showing that.
Argument. They do not work. His tactics do not work.
But they did this season, right?
Not in the Premier League.
For the first,
not in the Premier League.
For the first 12,
or in the Europa League, Alex. Alex, he won the Europa League by ditching his own philosophy.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
Well, he did.
No, in the final he did. No, in the final he did. I agree. In the final he did.
And
Frankfurt at home, Bodo at home, RZ at home. I thought we played really good football. We deserved to win those games. Good attacking football.
He wasn't playing the Ange way. That's why we got further.
Who cares?
I
if
know
he
you don't
changed
care.
it?
Yeah, but no, that wasn't the question. Still, with who cares?
Yeah,
The question was that his style of football. He didn't use his style of football to win the Europa League. I'm not knocking that. Yes, still that shows adaptability.
Yeah, he
so
needs to adapt.
what I'm saying is,
he needs to adapt.
okay, so he
adapt.
sees his style of football doesn't work and gets ripped apart weekly in the Premier League, and doesn't adapt and just stands on the sidelines, arms folded, watching wingers get in behind our inverted fullbacks and does nothing. That infuriates me.
It's true.
Yeah,
He
but
knows that
games
his style
he
of
has
play won't
adapted,
work
he's
in,
just
and
lost.
he knew if he carried on that style of play in Europa League, he knows that he wouldn't have won it for us. That's why he changed.
The last 2 months in the league, the last 2-3 months, he stopped doing it. He stopped doing it. Maybe listen, you guys have got a strong possibility of being right. He's going to do the same thing next season. He'll be gone by October, but he has begun to tweak it, and don't you want to? Just maybe he now gets it. Maybe
okay,
now
so he began to tweak it as Crystal Palace ripped us apart.
Exactly.
As Brighton ripped us apart. Wolves ripped us apart.
You're really going to talk about a game where they've been
No,
drinking for 4 days
but
straight?
hang
Come on.
But the thing is, Simba, this is the thing, guys. Every game, I've said this for the last 6 months, I get, but that game didn't matter because we've got a European game on Thursday. That game didn't matter because we've got a final. Apparently, none of these games that we lose matter. It's madness.
When we got ourselves in the situation after come like March time when the league had completely gone, obviously it was the right thing to do to prioritise the Europa League.
But why did that mean playing gung-ho tactics? Why not continue the tactics you were using in the Europa League and the Premier League?
Do you know what mistake I think Ange made, right, with the Premier League this year? Is that I think once he installed it in the squad, we're going to win the Europa. Right, and he drilled it into them. We're going to do it. You just got to believe this is how. I think subconsciously some of our players switched off in the league. I think they're like, do you know what? Fuck it. We're not going to get top 4. We're not going to get relegated. Whatever. I think a lot of our players subconsciously switched off in the league, and I don't think that was necessarily a wise move by Ange. I think some of these players, because some of the performances I saw from certain players were just shocking. I'm like, why are you not like that in Europe? And I think some of them subconsciously just turned off, and that was a mistake from Ange, in my view. I think he got that one wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree. But like everyone's just disregarding the fact that everyone was saying Ange needs to adapt, Ange needs to adapt, Ange needs to adapt, and when he does, you're all just saying, oh, but you're still going back on the moments when he didn't adapt. But he finally did adapt and brought home a trophy.
But Ben,
how is that not credit to him?
He didn't in the Premier League over 38 games.
He didn't adapt because he wanted to. He adapted because he had to. There's a difference between those two.
But he actually did adapt, and it got success for him. So what's to say he won't carry on adapting moving forward?
What's the difference, Alex, between wanting to or having to? I don't understand. What do you mean because he wanted to?
Because it was by choice.
What does he mean? Yeah, he chose to adapt. Yes, he did choose to
adapt.
adapt.
Why could he not choose to adapt in the Premier League then?
He adapted in the final, especially to win the trophy in a way.
So why didn't he adapt in the Premier League?
I'm talking about
in the Europa League, he did play attacking football. We played very well in the home games in the Europa League, and we did play good attacking football, and we deserved to win those games. It wasn't necessarily all just sitting back like we were in some of the away games. It was actually playing good attacking football and going after teams. It wasn't just that. Premier League, we've played our second team. He actually has adapted in the Premier League. It just hasn't worked. It's been bad. Yeah, Palace maybe was a bit different, but I think some of the other games, Villa away, right? Do we play gung-ho football in that game, or did we sit back and soak up pressure? Like, we actually have I remember we went to Everton away, we went to a back 3. Like, if you actually look at as well, a lot of the heat maps during the season, yes, at the beginning, we were inverting a lot, but actually, as the season's gone on, we've inverted a hell of a lot less, because he has changed it. But just because we're losing, you say he doesn't adapt, just because you're looking at the result. But no, he actually has changed things.
Completely.
Well, it's true. Man City 4-0 was an adaptation of his tactics.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the case in point, Ben. There's the case in point. The game against Man City was exactly how Spurs should play, with a tight back 4, tight in the middle, and counter-attack with the likes of Kulusevski, Maddison, Son, whoever, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah. And then what did he do straight after that game? He goes straight back to the inverted fullbacks. If you watch Spurs nearly every game, the wingers for the opposition have a field day because they are just left in acres of space every game, right? Now, again, look at the Crystal Palace game the other day. People say, oh, it was before a final. Forget when it was. That is our tactics most games, right? Munoz had the freedom of White Hart Lane down our right-hand side. And at no point did Ange say, Jed Spence, who was playing left back, Jed, tuck in 10 yards. At no point we just keep playing high. And it's like every other team's manager knows, get the ball to our wide men. Listen, the proof is in the pudding.
But
Sim, hang on. If he's going to let's meet in the middle. If you're going to, no, don't roll your eyes, mate. You've invited me on. If you don't like what I've got to say, kick me off. Don't roll your eyes at me like an idiot.
Come on.
Don't roll your eyes at me. You've asked me for my opinion, and now you're rolling your eyes at me.
Come on.
All right, come on.
All right, well, cool. But I don't come on for have my eyes rolled.
Sam, get your point across. Get your point across. What's your point?
Jesus Christ. Right?
Sam, land your point. What were you saying about Man City played one way, then the next game you played a different way?
Listen, you don't lose 22 games, right? Concede 65 goals, get 38 points and a 1 point per game average over a season if he had adapted. You don't. This is so disingenuous. If you guys are going to give him the credit that he deserves for the trophy, which I agree with you, then he has to take the flack for the Premier League. It has to work both ways. It can't be, he was brilliant in the Europa League, he adapted, look how good he is. Oh, in the Premier League, but this excuse, but that excuse, but. He did shit in the Premier League, just say it, and he did brilliantly in the Europa League, just say it.
No one is saying that he didn't do shit in the Premier League. Not one person on this panel has said that. No one has said that. No. No one has said it's completely unacceptable, the form and everything that's gone into the Premier League campaign this season. No one is disagreeing with that. But the fact of the matter is, he's shown signs of adaptability. He's won the cup, something that no manager has done in a very long time at Tottenham Hotspur. And on top of that adaptability that he has shown, that means he deserves to take the team into next season to see if he can carry on that adaptation in the Premier League. And if he can't, and if the Premier League goes the same way, he'll get sacked, and he'll get sacked rightly so.
Yeah, that would not be good for us, because then you're looking for a manager mid-season. There's not going to be any available managers mid-season. That's why you've got to do it now. You do it now, or he's here for the next season and you back him properly, which I don't want. You've got to do something now, or not mid-season. We can't be going through sacking a manager mid-sesion. You've got to do something now.
With this football club, though, Alex, given how we're run, and given how we've basically been going for the last, before Ange came in, for the last 5 years, going from manager to manager, having no stability. We need someone to be stable behind. We can't be chopping and changing every manager, because we get no stability at this football club. And now we've got a chance to have that with this Europa League, with the togetherness that win is going to bring the squad. You can see how much the players are behind this manager, right? You see Romero's fully behind this manager, saying, yes, we need to keep this part, we need to keep going on this path, right? They all fully believe in him and fully behind him. And the belief that this season particularly would have given them, given all the losses we've had, and we still come away with the European trophy, still come away with success. Do you not think that these players are now ready to completely are going to completely buy into him next season? If we risk ripping that all apart by chopping him, going for a new manager, going in a different direction yet again, with this football club starting a whole new thing. And if you see all the best managers at the moment at the top, right? They have consistency. They've been there for a while. That's what this club needs. We need someone, because we're not going to get there outspending the opposition all the time, just buying our way to the top. We need to get there through building things, building younger players, putting the building blocks in place, and that comes with stability. And I think that's why.
But he's not built. That's the problem. He's not building. He's had a good cup run, but he's not building. In the league for the last 66 games, he's not building anything. I keep hearing people saying, oh, if we get a new manager, we got to start again. We're 17th in the Premier League. That's as low as it gets.
Yeah, that's as low as it gets. Europa League's as high as it gets at the moment.
From?
Do you know what?
Different competition, Tim.
Do you know what? Do you know what, guys? I totally agree with Sava's point. That Man City game was a blueprint of how to get the best out of this team. And then the next game, he reverts back to type and we lose. This is my biggest concern with Ange. This is why I'm not Ange in, because stuff like that all year long is why I was Ange out. Obviously, I've moved my position because he's shown me something a bit different. I want to give him a chance to prove me wrong. I think what needs to happen now is, right, as much as I just want to give him the start and then judge it then, I hear what Alex is saying. If you're going to make a change, make it now, which probably makes more sense. I honestly believe what this board needs to do now is this. Make a choice, Ange in or Ange out. And if it's Ange out, get the next manager in ASAP. But if it is Ange in, give him the whole season and let him do what he does and back him in the summer. Because if we go in half-baked, let's bring in some players, give Ange 10 weeks, and it doesn't work, hit the reset, that's very disruptive. It can sometimes work. It can sometimes be your downfall. And I think it'll be harder to find a top manager come October, which is kind of where I agree with Alex as well. I think this board now, because whatever we say, guys, it's just our views, right? Levy's going to do what Levy wants, or whoever Levy gives the control on this, whether it's Munn, Paratici, I don't know. Levy needs to make a decision ASAP, stop dithering and creating uncertainty at the club and just say, right, Ange, you're my guy. We're going with you. Let's build.
100%.
And Ange's got to deliver. He's got to deliver. Or, Ange, thanks for what you've given us. We'll never forget it. But where we want to go now, we don't think you quite fit that direction. Get your Glasner, get your Xavi, whatever, and go with it. That's what needs to happen.
I agree.
That's 100% spot on, Stel. And then all this like saying, "Oh, we're not going to come to a decision until next week," and all this kind of crap. It's just causing more and more uncertainty, and it's just
I heard
not
that
what
Ange's
we
on
need
holiday
right
now too, so that they can't really make a decision right now.
Yeah, and it's crap, to be honest, because all these other clubs are making signings already. Even Manchester United, the club are not even in Champions League, are making moves.
It's always like this with Tottenham. The other clubs
and that's why it's always
going to
go back to the owners. That's why it's always going to go back to the owners.
Oh yeah, of course, 100%.
What's Sav has given his opinion on this one, but what's both of your Stel and Alex's gut? What's your guts telling you which way Levy's going to go with it? Do you reckon Ange will be here next season, or is he going to sack him?
I can't even call him right now. I really can't. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he parted ways with him, because we know that Levy has done something similar with, sacking Mourinho before a cup final. So he's capable of sacking someone who's, just given us the most amazing night of our life. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was to do that. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he kept him too. I really don't know what way it's going to go. I really don't. And yeah, if he was to keep him, obviously that's not what I want, but I would get behind the team and respect the decision. And, it would have been made, and there's nothing I can do about changing that. That of course that's not what I want. I've said that I want him gone, and I'd rather like a Glasner in and try and bring in Wharton and Eze with him. Statement signings that would help us push on for next season. But yeah, if he was to keep him, and then you've got to back him heavily in the window, then I'll try my best to support him and get behind him and hope that next season is a massive difference to last season in the league. Because like Sava said, surely it cannot be getting worse than 17th. But what upsets me is that the three teams that went down, if they weren't that bad, we would have there would have been a very strong case for us going down, and that really does not sit right with me. To see my club sitting down that low in the table with 22 Premier League defeats, it makes me feel sick. And I know that there was the main reason for that was they threw it away in January. Ange says in January, we sat down and we decided to put all the eggs in the Europa basket, which was a risky move, and it did pay off. But at the same time, you shouldn't be doing that, and you shouldn't be in the position to be doing that. Look at Newcastle. They won a League Cup. They still finished in top 6. Why could Spurs have not been capable of doing that? You know what I mean? Like, we had the players to do it. You look at that Newcastle starting 11, man for man, it's not 100% stronger than ours, but
it is when we have our second team.
They wanted it more. The manager got the best out of his players, which our manager was not doing. And in the 2 years that I've seen Ange at this club, I've not seen any sustainability. I've not seen any progress, and it does not fill me with any confidence doing a third season with him. So right now, I would like to say thank you very much, Ange, for giving me the best moment of my life, the best week of my life. You've done something that top managers at Conte and Jose couldn't do. But it's time to part ways, both on a high. We're happy, Levy's happy, and Ange is happy. Now is a great time to part ways. Say goodbye. Thank you. I wish you the best in your career if you go to manage another club after this. But I think it would be a sensible move to part ways now and start a new journey and a new chapter, because I just don't see anything long term with this manager. And I really, really fear for this club playing Champions League football with Ange Postecoglou at the helm. That's just my opinion, boys.
With the squad we have, Alex, with the injuries that we've had, do you not feel it was the right decision to prioritise the Europa League?
Of course it was, but you need to adapt as well. Even Sava said it earlier. You've got to adapt. You know, Irioli had like 7 or 8 very important first team players out at one time this season. Yeah, I know they play one game a week, but he adapted. And this is what you've got to do when you've not got the other resources. If you've not got good backups to come in for Van de Ven or Romero.
He had a terrible form late in the season for Bournemouth.
When the injuries came,
won 11 and 14 when he had the injuries.
Yeah, then the losses start to come after that.
I'm saying, but it's not like a great end of the season.
He was able to show adaptability, and Ange could not. That's the point I was trying to make.
Stel, do you think he'll be here next season?
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to keep him, and I think they're going to give it a go. I don't know if they're going to change their philosophy in the transfer window.
They have to if he's going to have a successful season, that's for sure.
And we can't be signing any more kids again as well, that's for sure.
But I think any manager that comes to this club is going to need that. What Ange has to do, though, is if he doesn't want he can't accept mediocrity, and he needs to walk if he's not happy with the transfers, because he's accepted, and that's on him. If you don't want Timo, leave. If you don't want this guy, but he's accepted it. So I was taught when you're in these situations in football, and this is a very difficult call for the board. It's a really difficult. Levy's biggest decision was to stick with Ange in the first place and to see it out. This is his biggest decision.
This one is even harder.
This one's even harder. Do I stick or do I twist? In this situation, I was taught, ask your players what they want. I think Levy should sit down with the players and say, look, what do you feel? Where are you at with this? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to have to play for the manager. They're the ones that are going to have to run through walls. If the players are in, stick with him. If you've got some doubters in the camp, maybe you do have to change the manager.
Well, we're hearing Stel from various journalists that Ange retains the full backing of the squad. We're hearing that Romero's future is very much linked to Ange Postecoglou's future, and if Ange stays, Romero will possibly stay as well. So, Sav, does that not tell you anything about the players' belief in the manager, and why do the players have so much belief in the manager if they've had such a poor season?
So if the players had so much belief in the manager, why have we looked so bloody appalling all year? It works both ways. It's really easy to come out and say nice things. It's very easy to come out and say we support this manager, blah, blah, blah. The performances on the pitch show a completely different story, don't they? The body language, it's all right. James Maddison could come out and say what he's saying now. He's the one that's sitting on the bench with Sonny going, same thing every week. Right, so we can all the nice things come out because we've had the nice event last Wednesday, right? Players, name me a player that's going to come out and say the opposite. When is a player going to come out and say, "Do you know what we want?"
No, it's not about players coming out and saying something. It's about journalists It's about journalists that have inside scoops and know what's going on within the club coming out and saying this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it works both ways, because when we hear, oh my God, so-and-so's unhappy in the camp, you get, oh, it's just journalists spinning it. When it's positive, we want to believe it. So listen, I'm sure there are players that love him and there will be players that hate him. I'm guessing people like Jed Spence can't wait for him to leave, right? I actually reckon behind the scenes, somebody like James Maddison is probably thinking, I would like a better manager that gets better out of me. I don't know. I could be wrong, right? But I don't know. I don't read too much into that. 22 defeats, 26 defeats in all competitions. Very easy to come out and say we fully back the manager now after defeat, after defeat, after defeat, after defeat, after defeat. It's very easy to do that. And they get away with the defeats. There's no accountability on their performances. Because if you look at, for me, one of the biggest things I think we've seen this year is look at what happened with Jed Spence, right? Udogie got injured. Jed Spence came in, and we didn't miss Destiny Udogie one bit. Jed Spence was excellent for 2 to 3 months. He was our best player, right? And then the manager turns around and says, whilst Jed Spence is playing really well and getting talks of England call-ups, says, yeah, well, whatever he said, like when Destiny's back, he'll go straight back in the 11. And you're like, that summed it up for me. That for me summed it up. Like,
But when
Yeah,
when
he
a
disrespected
doggy-
Spence
when a
a
doggy-
He didn't
lot.
say that.
when a doggy did
He-
come
he
back
did.
into
He didn't. He said
He did say that.
He said Spence is going to be very important until a doggy comes back. But he didn't say a doggy's
Yeah,
going to be
it's
straight in the
pretty
back.
much
by
the
Spence.
same thing.
And-
He's gonna be
no,
very
it's not, and he
important
wasn't,
until-
by the way. He wasn't.
He is.
But
He's like-
doggy
he's like
came
saying
back and
Spence is
Spence
doing
still
a job
played. Spence
until
still
Doggy's
played him
back.
until about a month later. Then doggy
No.
started playing in Europa.
No, he didn't. I
He
remember
did.
the Man City game at home. He was in great form leading up to it. The Man City game at home, straight away dropped to
That's
put a
because
doggy
Spence
back
had
in.
played every game, so he had to rest him for a game. And then
Ben,
Spence was
see, I
back
don't
in
know
on the
if you know how
weekend.
professional footballers work, right? Jed Spence had played about 11 games in a row. If I've played 11 games in a row as a professional footballer, I don't need a rest. Right? 11 games in a row is not taxing. We're not talking like Kulu, who had played about 60 in a row, right? And then he dropped Jed Spence, and then
brought him
every
back the
big
next
game.
game. He brought him back the next game. Wasn't dropped.
Okay, cool. Yeah, gone. Okay.
But Sava,
This is what I mean.
wasn't Ange vindicated
Whatever I
on bringing
say
a doggy
about
back in the
whatever
team?
I
though?
say about this manager, there is an excuse for him at
What's
every
excuse? You're
turn. There's no
twisting
middle
things.
ground.
You're twisting
There's no
things.
middle ground. Sim, every Spurs fan I was speaking to was going, "How good's Jed Spence?
Yeah.
Why didn't this guy get picked?" And then as soon as Adogi was back fit, all the
to the
important
bench.
games, Adogi went straight in, and Jed Spence was playing whenever he rotated the squad.
And it was
Jed
justified.
Spence went from being brilliant to his demeanour dropped.
No, it's
Sim,
very disrespectful.
His dropped.
Because he done a fantastic job when he come
It
in.
was
And then the minute
justified.
Adogi's
It was
back,
a justified
straight to the bench.
switch.
Tim,
So did a doggy
Sim, can I
not
ask
do
you
a
a
brilliant
question?
job when he came back? Was he not justified to play the Europa League games because he was brilliant in all the Europa League games? A doggy.
But why should Spence have been dropped?
Guys, can I ask you a question?
Doggy's
on
the
this,
first
right?
choice left back, and he's
He
a
made
better
the
player.
call. Yeah.
Sim,
It's a right
Sim,
call.
let me ask you a
But better
question.
how?
Sim, Sam, let me ask Sim a question on this. Sim,
Okay.
do you believe that Ange Postecoglou has got his favourites, his set players, regardless of performances of other players? If his favourites are fit, they play. Do you not do you think that or not?
I think he's got his first choice, but I think there's obviously movement within that for sure. 100%. I don't think anyone. You have to prove it on performance for sure. But I think he's got a first choice 11. Yeah, like most managers do.
Every manager has their favourites, but at the same time, you've got to be playing your best. You out of form. Who's on the best form? Spence was on
Correct.
great form. You've got to carry on playing the
Until
players that are
Adogi
on
came
good
back,
form.
and then Spence did carry on
Yeah, but you
playing for a
don't
bit.
put Spence to the bench when he's on fantastic form.
Right, that even though Ange puts Adogi in, he was fantastic, and we win the Europa League, and he was one of our better players in that run. We're saying that was a mistake. Is that what
I
we're
don't
saying?
think he was.
Well,
No,
that's
I'm
your
not saying it's a
opinion, but
mistake.
I think for
but
a
we're
few
saying it's
games he got man of the
disrespectful
match.
to the treatment of Spence.
It's not disrespectful. You get it on merit, and
Well,
I
it
think
is because
Udogie
he's done a
clearly was-
fantastic job
I
when
don't
he's
know.
got
I'm not
pulled
in
in.
training. I'm not there in training. I'm in the training ground, and we'll see what's going on there. All I know is he picks Udogie for these big games. He was absolutely fantastic and was vindicated in my opinion that selection. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
For me, in my opinion, Spence essentially kind of saved Ange's job in a way because he made
Agreed.
things look a lot better than what it actually was.
Fair play to Spence. He did really well, but Udogie was
done very
fantastic
well.
in the Europa League run, and so I think
I
it was
don't,
vindicated.
I don't think. See, the difference is Spence is a very good defender, and Udogie is very good the other way. Udogie's not improved defensively. Watch him. Watch Udogie defensively and how much he loses his man at the back post every single time. Watch how he's always the wrong goal side, right? It's okay, Sim, to not think all our players are amazing, by the way. It's okay to think that. Udogie, for me, as I said, when we signed him, I was like, I like this. I don't think he's kicked on at all. I don't think he's improved as a defender in any way, shape or form. It worries me. It worried me that he left Spence out of our European squad to start with and played Archie Gray at right back.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This man,
Yeah,
when we're
stupid
talking
decision.
about Jed Spence, like we're talking about this manager didn't have the players to rotate and play on Thursdays and Sundays. Didn't or wouldn't. Because there were lots of players where you're going, why didn't you play? You could have dropped so-and-so today and played him. He could have rotated players, but he never did. And then when they get injured, we go, but these backup players, well, rotate before these players get injured. Don't
You
bring
said
back
they did
Van de Ven.
rotate. You said he did rotate at the beginning of the season. You said he did.
Hang on, right? Don't play Mickey Van de Ven and Romero against Chelsea when they're not fit. You could see they weren't fit from the first minute of that game. You could see they weren't fit. He played them both. They get injured again, and then that's his excuse for the next 3 months: is we don't have Mickey and Christian Romero.
And Sava, you know why they did play? You know why they were forced back? Because Ange's job was on the line at the moment too. He was shitting it, and he forced them.
I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing a pattern. So listen, I'm going to praise him. Thank you very much for winning this trophy. Right. Yeah. I need to see more. I need to see that this isn't just when your job's on the line, because what I've seen is 40 defeats in all competitions in 2 seasons, which is just unheard. Like, absolutely. I've seen some bad Spurs teams never losing this volume of game. And I've never seen a manager so protected when he loses every week. We're literally at the stage where we're basically losing every week, and there's always a reason. There's always a reason why. It's madness. It's madness.
He's broken every negative record for this club, and I really do hope that Levy is looking at it the same way that me and you are, because you have to look at it that way as well.
Alex, he's staying. Really, and that's fair enough. But what I will say is this: if he stays, and still we've had this conversation, if he stays, and next season, the first 10, 15, 20 games, we're seeing exactly the same tactics. We're seeing him not employ a number 6. We're seeing him invert the fullbacks. We're seeing teams have 20 shots per game.
He'll get sacked.
Sure, he'll get the sack. But then no one can be surprised, because his 2 years of evidence in the Premier League show you that that's what he does. So he's got a huge summer ahead. Does he find a tactic which is somewhere in between the gung-ho, awful, wide-open football and the Europa League winning football? Or does he go either or, and both for a huge gamble? So, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say he must go, this is terrible if he doesn't. But if he did go, I would understand it. I would understand if he goes. I understand if he stays.
You know what I think Ange will do next season? I think Ange next season will stick to his ways. He'll try and bury teams in the first 30 minutes and win games. But what I'm hoping is he will learn to drop that high line and stop inverting both fullbacks. That's the only 2 tweaks he needs to make. If he can do that, we got a number
6, and a number 6 that he's not implemented for 2 years,
and a 6. But if he doesn't invert both fullbacks, then it's at least one cover. But yeah, we need a 6. We need a 6 though. I agree.
I think that's what the reports are, that we're going to look for one.
We got Johnny Cardozo supposed to come in. I don't know.
Yeah. Where would you prioritise the signing, Sava, this summer? Let's say Ange is staying.
Yeah, I don't think it matters who the manager is. I think we need 2 fullbacks that can compete. By the way, I'm not talking about backups. Competing fullbacks with a Doggy and Poro. I've got a feeling one is. Because I think if Jed Spencer's got anything about him, he's going to want out of this football club. I don't think he's going to sit and play second fiddle again to 2 players that aren't as good as him defensively. I just don't think he will. And I think he's got a bit of stock from this season. I think he's got a little bit of stock from this year. So I think he will go. If he goes, I think we need 2. I think one of them is going to be Kyle Walker-Peters. I'll tell you what, I'll say this right now, clip me. Spurs are going to sign Kyle Walker-Peters. That is a Tottenham signing. That is homegrown, club trained, free transfer, and can play right back and left back. That's got Spurs written all over it. I think we need 2 midfielders.
We do have those issues going into next season, don't we? The club trained issue again.
Yeah, I think we need 2 midfielders, Ben. I think we need one who is. We need a midfielder that controls a game. I don't think we've got one that controls a game, like a deep line playmaker, number 6 type, that can put his foot on the ball and sense danger. I think we need a winger that can beat a man. I think all of our wingers are dreadful. If we're going to be honest, I think we need a winger that can beat a man. We've got Johnson, who's very good.
I would say we need wingers on both sides. Left wing and right winger.
None of our wingers, Tell, Odegaard, Son, Johnson, none of them anymore beat a man. No. And we've got to get a goal scorer. We have got to get a goal scorer up front. Solanke's got strengths in other areas. He is not a clinical goal scorer.
I know you're not Solanke's biggest fan, but he needs better service around him. He's getting absolutely nothing from Brennan and Son or Tell.
I agree, but when he's through on goal, every time that boy gets the ball, I liken it to Jermaine Defoe, right, Alex? Whenever Jermaine Defoe got the ball, you always thought he's going to shuffle it out his feet, and his first thought was, let me get a shot off, and he's working the keeper or it's nestling in the back of the net. When I watch Solanke, I never feel that threat from him that he's got that. You know, I think he's
but
strong.
they're two different strikers.
I know, and that's why I think we need a goal scorer. I think he works hard. Alex, let me ask this question. When people say about Solanke, what do you like about Solanke? The first two things most people say is he presses and he works hard.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to if we're going into the Champions League, it can't be he presses and he works hard. I think we need like a Jonathan David type of striker.
Well, we need another striker in here regardless. We're in the Champions League now. We're trying to act like a big club. All these big clubs, they've got more than one top striker. Yeah, rotation,
I think Richarlison will leave this summer as well.
I reckon he's going to Everton.
Yeah, I agree.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Solanke, like in front of goal, I know we don't give enough chances, but his finishing is, especially when it's not like when it's like a tap in and whatever, like he's got a header in, it's fine. But as Sava said, when he's through on goal, or let's say he's got a tight angle to arrow it into the corner or something like that, or curl it into the far corner, a bit of finesse, he doesn't seem to have that in his locker. He seems to really not have too many types of finishes in his locker, and that's what he's got to improve. Obviously at Bournemouth he scored a lot more, but if you actually watch his goal compilation at Bournemouth, it's all very much first-time finishes and headers and things like that, which is fine, absolutely fine. But we don't provide him that service, and when we're playing the way we do, we need just a little bit more quality. Someone who can take a shot early, who can find a corner from a tight angle, things like that. And we don't really. He's not that.
There is no reason now we're in the Champions League, all the revenues that come with it, that we can't go and push the boat out and get someone like a Victor Gyökeres this summer. If Arsenal don't go and get him, and if Sesko goes to Arsenal or whatever, obviously those clubs are going to have the first pick. But if he doesn't go to a Liverpool or Arsenal, there's no reason why we can't go and get him.
Well, we should be trying to go in for him anyway, regardless of the other teams that are in for him. I saw two good comparisons in the chat just now, who I've had my eyes on for a while as well. We've just won the Europa League. We're in Champions League. If we want to act like a big club, we've got to show that. Osimhen and Gyökeres, you try and go for one of those. You make them your statement signings along with Eze, and then you're talking. But unfortunately, Levy don't operate like that, and we're not a big club. But that's what you should be doing in this summer window to try and kick on.
Alex, do you really think that Victor Gyökeres is not going to have bigger options than Tottenham Hotspur this summer? I'm not being negative. I'm just saying. I think that man's
that's why I said if Liverpool or Arsenal don't go for him, I'm saying.
Of course he's, but you have to show that intent anyway, and not sit back and settle for someone like Solanke. Try and at least speak to him, put a good offer in, give him good wages. Don't give him an 150 grand week like we do with most of our players. Slap a 300 grand contract offer on the table. See what he says. Here, you don't ask, you don't get. But I just want to show a bit more intent. I want to see a lot more intent from this club, a lot more ambition, which we don't see with.
I think it's Jonathan David,
unfortunately.
Man. I think it'll be Jonathan David. Will be the type of player we'd go for. He's on a free transfer, goal scorer. Just
not a bad player to bring in on a free.
Is he actually?
That's what I've read. He's off to Napoli, David.
Jonathan David, because he's on a free, probably going to have more suitors than a Victor Gyökeres, who's going to cost quite a bit of money.
Listen, I'd love Victor Gyökeres. By the way, before anyone says anything, I know what I'm going to get. I'd love Victor Gyökeres. That boy's going to a bigger club than Tottenham Hotspur. I can assure you. He's one of the top goal scorers in world football right now. And Spurs, I've got. Listen, I think we've got to remember as well, just because we've won a Europa League, you've got to remember these players won't just suddenly turn around and go, "Oh my God, I'm going to pick Spurs over bigger teams." We need to build up and spend a bit more time at the top of the table and winning more trophies, and we need to become attractive. We need to become attractive, and whether we hate Arsenal or not, right? When you look at them, they've been at the top for the last 3 years. Right, so they are showing stability that, hey, come to us, we want to challenge for a title.
No one disagrees.
Players like that, and that's where I think we need to baby steps to get to people like Gyökeres.
But no one disagrees. But you look at Manchester United, and everyone's saying they're a dead club. They're going nowhere. They're not in any sort of European football. They're going in the wrong direction. They go out there, get Cunha, could be getting Mbeumo, could be getting Delap.
But they're one of the biggest clubs in the world.
These are the kind of signings we need to make. We're in the Champions League. We should have more weight than them right now.
I love Cunha. I think he's quality.
Yeah, but Man United, it's Man United, didn't it? Like
of course, it's
whatever happens
to
Man United.
It's wages
global
as well,
pulling power.
It's wages as well.
Yeah, the wages has always been a problem at this football club, and they've cut the wage bill down massively in the last year. which
Yeah,
does
but
not
of
help
course,
us one
Man
bit.
United are a bigger club and everything. They're a massive club, one of the biggest clubs in the world. But you also look at where they've been over the past 5 years. They've been absolutely nowhere.
I
With regards to
I
signing
agree. I'm
players,
just saying they do it. We don't. That's all it is.
with regards to signing players, okay. If you look, if I just base it on the Premier League, in terms of goals scored, we are like the sixth or fifth highest goal scorers, and when you look at goals conceded, we're the fifth worst. So that says to me that, statistically, defense is our problem, but I don't think it is. I think Ange making us so wide open is the problem.
Yeah.
And with regards to players, we can sign whoever, but Ange has to tighten that ship. The other thing I've noticed is possession-wise,
Agreed.
we are almost equal to Arsenal and Liverpool, and Man City have got the highest possession in the league. So possession isn't actually an issue, but yet we never look like we control games. So with regarding to, I don't really care who we sign, if I'm honest with you, as long as I know they're experienced and they're of a decent level. We need players that can control games of football. We don't really have players that can dictate the pace of a game, whether it's defenders, midfielders, attackers, whoever's
I'd
on
say
the ball.
Maddison's maybe one of the only ones.
Listen, him and Benton caught on their day, Basuma on his day, but that's infrequent. Everyone else really is quite panicky. It's very, it's either over rushed or too slow.
Agreed.
When we had like Eriksen, Modric, Dembele, mate, the game flowed. It just flowed, and we need players that are going to bring that back to us.
Yeah.
So now, Stel, question for you: Will there that parade where Ange said season 3 is going to be better than season 2? After winning that Europa League, for you, you said you're a guy 17th for the trophy. You're taking that, right? And given that Europa League, prestigiously is probably the third biggest trophy you can probably win, right? For Spurs. How can season 3 be better than season 2 realistically for you? What does that look like?
Do you know what? He's an absolute nutter for saying that. You know that.
Yeah, he's put more pressure on himself again.
Talk about the. He gave the media that I always win in my second season. You would have thought, right? I got away with that one.
Wind it in, yeah.
He's now. He proved in the end. He's now given them another soundbite. It's almost pantomime. And do you know what? It reminded me of when Ricky Hatton fought Floyd Mayweather, and Ricky Hatton knows who's going to take the belts home, me or him, and everyone goes you, and he goes, let's effing have him, and everyone went, and then he lost the fight. So it was a moment where I think he just caught the emotion of the crowd. I don't know if he really meant it, but knowing him, he probably did. How'd you better it?
But then he followed up
the
with it
domestic
after.
double. You either do the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup double, or you win the Premier League. That's the only way you can better it.
Or the Champions League,
How else do you do
obviously.
it?
But he saved himself after when he said the main character normally dies in series 3, so he's covered himself a little bit there.
Yeah, but then he sent out a cryptic message: "Is Levy keeping me or not?" It's like he knows how to keep the media, clinging on to us. I don't know with Ange, guys. He says things. Sometimes I'm like, "What are you doing?"
So you
Shut
think
up.
to improve on this season, he has to win a domestic double, or so for example, if we finish top 6 and had a good run in the Champions League, is that better than this season? Is that progression?
No, not if it's a good run. You have to win it.
The Champions League.
If he gets top 4 and an FA Cup, I think that's a good place because you've got your Champions League again. You've improved in the league, which means you can compete with the big boys, and you've got a trophy in the cabinet, something we haven't won since '91. So I would take that. I listen, between you and me, if he stays, guys, I think he's going to try and win. I think he's going to try and go for the league. I don't think he'll win it.
Well, that's what he
I
wanted to
think
do
that's
this
what he'll
season.
try and do.
Would
That's what I think he'll try and do.
Would you
I think
not
he'll
take?
target it.
Would you
and
not
failed.
take 17th in a trophy next season? 17th in the Champions
Only if it's
League.
Champions League. Not FA Cup or
I
League
would
Cup.
bite your hand for 17th in the Champions
I'll
League.
take
next
17th
season.
in the Champions League right now.
Would you take 17th in the Champions League, Sava?
I had this hypothetical thrown at me yesterday. If you're finishing 17th in the league, you are not winning the Champions League.
Let's
So it's a complete no-brainer.
Would you?
Yeah, but
So you would do it, though.
Would you take it though?
Oh, it's just such a silly question. It's
Yes
so
or no?
silly.
It's yes or no?
Before the season,
You
17th
want me
Europa
to
would have been
believe that
silly.
we
It
could
would have
be
been silly.
7
I'm not
to lose
saying
20
believe
games,
that it can happen. I'm just
but
saying, would
beat
you take
Europe's
it?
elite.
Would you take it?
You would take it for 1 year, but let's be brutally honest here. Let's be brutally honest. This man talks a lot, right? Ange says so many contradictory things in the year that a wise man once said to me, if you change your opinion every week, you can never be wrong. And this is what Ange does. 1 week, I don't want experience. I don't want to buy experience. I want to develop it. Next time, we need more experience. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. 1 week, I want to challenge this season. The next week, finishing top 10, but winning a trophy isn't good enough. Like now, I've thrown the league to win a trophy. For me, he says a lot of things that I never really believe any of it, right? So when people are going, no, he told us he'd win a trophy. Yeah, but he also told us many other things that didn't come true. So for me, he shot himself in the foot. He told everyone in the heat of the moment, next year's better than this year. Cool. You've got to win the league or the Champions League. That's the only way you beat winning the Europa League, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, if he
By
does
everyone's
it, right?
metric, not mine, by all of your metric that the league doesn't matter because we won the Europa League. So next year, because my metric, guys, of a good season next year is get back into that top 4-5 via the league, get top 4-5 via the league, and have some good cup runs. If you win a trophy, that is absolutely a bonus. But just consolidate and get back in there, back to the Champions League. For me, back-to-back Champions League seasons, for me, would be progress at this club. Yeah? But
And you'd be
you
Ange
guys,
after that.
To you, listen, if next year we're finishing in the top 4 or 5, what can I say? Right? What can I say? But
Sava, don't make any bets.
at the moment-
This is where I came in. Right? Don't make any bets. This is where I came in.
no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just saying, listen, if next season
I know,
he
no,
gets
I'm
us
joking.
full fourth or fifth-
I feel a bet coming on. Who wants to make one?
If next season he gets us full 4/5 and we have some good cup
Ben's
runs,
fishing.
then brilliant. My worry is that he couldn't balance the league and the Europa League. We've now got the league and the Champions League. And in the Champions League, you're not able to rest the players you did to play in the Europa League, right? You look at Villa this year. Villa were putting out their best team on a weekend and their best team out on a Wednesday or Tuesday for the Champions League. Ange is going to have to do that if you want to compete in those competitions. So I want to see that he can do that twice a week. I want to see if we can stop having the excuses, stop fighting with the fan base. For me, I think it's a really bad look. Stop fighting with the fan base, right? And for me, just a few less things in the media, just a few less big statements that he keeps making that everyone flip-flops to. Oh, he said this, I agree with that. Oh, he's changed it this week, I now agree with that. If he does all that, what can I say?
Listen, for me, I couldn't care less what he does anymore. I'm past it all. This year, it drained the hell out of me.
It's
Right?
like
You're
Trump
too
syndrome.
hungover, Stel. You're too hungover,
It's like
mate.
Trump syndrome. He says so many things that and he just can't be asked with it anymore.
Exactly, right? There's only two things I want to see going forward. One, keep winning trophies. And two, for people to stop coming on my show and calling me Simios, right? This Simios name I've been given. That has to stop. That's it. Absolute joke.
That is brilliant.
Look, I think we're going to
Brilliant
leave
for
it.
you.
I feel like wait, just quickly, Alex. Next season, if we are keeping Ange and he says third season's a better season, what does that look like for you? What is better than Europa League?
Well, I said it earlier when we were just talking about it not so long ago.
Sorry.
The only way to better what we've just done now is, Premier League or Champions League. And I don't think we'll be close to winning either of those next year with this man in charge.
But if we get a new manager, what's their goal? He doesn't have to do that.
No, it should remain the same. It should remain the same. But yeah, it depends who that man is first, because there needs to be the right man and a good manager as well.
Can we change Stelios' name to Simios here on the panel?
No, I'll leave the show.
But
If we get a new manager,
Yeah, go on, Sava.
if a new manager comes in, of course, it depends who you bring in and when you bring them in. If the new manager comes in after 15 games of next season, it's very difficult to turn around and go, well, here's your barometer. If a new manager came in tomorrow, by the way, I'm not saying Ange's going, but if a new manager came in tomorrow, you build with them all summer. The summer is where they implement their identity. And you say, right, okay, get us back up that league, try and win a trophy. Yeah. I just think that we can't expect that we're going to win a trophy every season now. And for me, this is where I've been having the row with Stel, is I can't say that every year we don't win a trophy is failure, because there are other circumstances that happen. You know, next year, if you were to finish fourth, get back in the Champions League, people will laugh at this and say, oh, Sava thinks it's a trophy. I don't. But I think we now need a few years of stability getting Champions League football every year, guys, for the revenue. I'm not an accountant, but I'm also not an idiot and realise that to buy players and to compete, you need revenue. So when all these people are going, oh, forget the top four, sure, we can forget the top four, but they'll be the same people going, well, why haven't we paid more wages? Why haven't we paid more for players? You've got to bring as much money into a football club as possible. So for me, next year, consolidate, get Champions League again. And he can only do that by two things. One, winning the Champions League, or two, finishing in the top 4 or 5. So for me, that the aim is, the realistic one is the top 4 or 5. Winning the Champions League, I'll be amazed. If we do that, wow. But can't see it at all.
And also on top of that, if you do show stability and you do show like back-to-back Champions League finishes and, you know, over the course of a couple of seasons, not just this one by 17th and Europa League, but the next few seasons, then, you know, I know it didn't happen under Poch, but trophies should come along the way with that as well.
We can't go 17 years without a trophy again. Look, we can't expect we're going to win one every year. But let's start making it that we're winning one every 3 or 4 years as a minimum, as a minimum, right?
Agreed.
I know we want to win one every year, but I'm now seeing Spurs fans that are just starting to be a little bit unrealistic to have gone from none in 17 to now. Like I gave this example yesterday, guys. Right? I said if next season from where we are, which is 17th in the Premier League and the Europa League champions. So imagine we finish second in the league, which would be a 16-place hike. And if we got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, I think that would be a bloody successful season for Tottenham. That would show that we have progressed in all aspects in Europe's elite competition and in the Premier League. That then allows you to go and get better players. And I was told yesterday that that would be failure. And I just can't make that work in my head. I can't make it work in my head.
Look, I call it failure. It's progression.
Not just you. Many.
Well, I did say it, right? I'm one of those many. For me, it is failure, although I can also accept that there is progression. We are going in the right direction if we don't win trophies. But the way I just feel about football is winning is trophies, and trophies is what success is. That's just how I've always looked at it. It's why I've been depressed at Spurs for 2 decades, right? If we fall short, but we're like Poch, we're knocking on the door, I can take it. It's not, you know, I'm not going to be in tears and shut it all down. This is rubbish. But what I don't want is for us to fall into that Arsenal trap now, which is what Poch did, where we're so hell-bent on the league and Champions League that we're just not giving as much time to, along the way, let's pick up an FA Cup, let's pick up a Carabao. Let's not just ignore those in this pursuit of we've got to be only going for the big boy trophies, and then you end up with nothing, and then that's when you become the banter club again. That's the only concern.
Us and Arsenal still. The difference between us and Arsenal is at the moment, Arsenal are at that level and have been for 3 years that they can no longer say this is great and they should be winning. At the moment, we're 17th in the Premier League.
Yeah,
so if Tottenham next season were to finish second, that would be phenomenal, no?
Yeah.
That would be phenomenal to finish second in the Premier League next season. I'm not saying we will. I don't think we will. It's hypothetical, right?
But second is not a trophy.
No, I know, but imagine we go by this theory every year, right? Imagine we go by this theory that we won an FA Cup every year, but every year we finished in the bottom half of the table. You've got to look at players as well. When we're saying we want to get better and want to attract players will want to be in the Champions League, right? And the revenue that the club would lose out on every year from just winning a trophy but not getting Champions League football, we would fall so far behind. So fans sometimes, I think, when we just say trophy, Yes, but you've got to think about how the clubs grow. You've got to get that revenue, and that revenue is gained from competing in the biggest tournaments, right? So it's got to go hand in hand. We can't just say if we finish 15th and win an FA Cup, that's a great year, because it'll be another year where we've not got Champions League revenue. And the top players, you guys are sitting here talking about Gyökeres, right? You reckon if you rocked around, you said, Alex, try and get Gyökeres, and then in the same thing saying second isn't good. A Victor Gyökeres is going to look around and go, hang on, that team just finished second. This is their second year in the Champions League. That's attractive. But you would rather the FA Cup finish 15th and he's going to turn around and go, I'm going to play the Europa League.
This season, the club that won Europa League has had a far more successful season than the club that finished second in the Premier League.
But that's not that's not my listen to what I'm saying. That's not my debate. Isn't Spurs v Arsenal? Let's not make it that. Listen to what I'm saying. You guys all on this panel are sitting going, why not get a Gyökeres? Yeah? If you don't get Champions League football, those players, forget Levy for one moment, those players are unobtainable. So you can sit and say we've had a better season than Arsenal this year. Yes, because we've won the Europa League. But if we didn't win that Europa League this year, right, we're then sitting there going, look at them again, right? So there's a fine balance between banter right now because they've not won anything and them consistently getting in Champions League football, getting the revenue, and they're buying Declan Rice's, right? They're buying Zubamendi's. They're going to probably buy a Gyökeres, right? So we've got to be very careful when we ask for, we'd be happy to not finish in the top four.
Yeah, it's true. No, you're right.
Careful.
Yeah, no, you
especially
did make
we've broken our trophy drought now. You know, we don't need to be as obsessed with the trophy as we were.
Well, we've got it off our back, haven't we? We've got it off our back.
Yeah, but at the same time,
I praise Ange for that. Clip that. I praise Ange for getting that monkey off our back.
You're getting a tattoo. Come on, clip.
Yes, tattoo.
At the same time, it's great having the Champions League money and all this revenue. Brilliant, great, we need it. But if the board don't budge on how it's spent, nothing will happen because we've got top four many a time and we end up buying Lo Celsos, we end up buying Reguilons and, you know, Sessegnons. Listen, it will all come down to the board. It's whether, and I said this at the parade, guys, I don't know how you felt. I was at the parade and the stage was in front of me. Fans everywhere, families, kids that have never seen Spurs win a trophy ever, the older generation reminiscing the 80s. And I looked behind the stage and you could see Levy, his son, Donna Cullen, the board members.
I saw your video with Levy, Stel. I saw your video with Levy.
Danny stitched me up, you know. Danny stitched me up with that one. Another stitch up. And I looked behind and I turned around to Danny and my brother and I said, if Daniel Levy can't see this and understand what this club means to us, and he doesn't change his ways now, he never will. If he doesn't change his ways this summer with how we go about transfers, he never ever will, guys, for me. I don't think he's ever going to change his ways. And we'll be back.
This needs to be a big turning point.
It has to. If he can't see it, Alex, right? If Daniel Levy can't see it,
we need
smell it, what it is.
We need to have a really, really, really good summer. This is a very, very important summer window. No more kids.
How many times have we said that?
We need to sign experience.
How many times have we said that?
I know, but no more kids, no more. We need to sign experience. We need to sign winners. Yeah, we've got winners in our squad now. They just won Europa League, but I'm talking about, you know, more than that. Winners overall in their whole careers who've won at elite level. Would you
accept players, Alex? Alex, I know you said Gyökeres, and I agree with Savile. We're not getting Gyökeres. But would you accept if we went and bought, for example, Mitoma, Mbeumo, Eze? Would that, for me, I think that'd be a brilliant window.
Yeah, I'd accept them 100% because I know that they instantly improve our starting 11. Mbeumo is better than Johnson, and Mitoma is better than Son and Tel.
Should we super chats?
Go for it.
Yeah, got quite a few super chats to get through. So let's get through them. Designated Hotspur, big up to him. He says, "What a panel! Where is my popcorn, man? Big up Sava, big up Stel, big up Sim. Left someone out. Left two people out. Sorry, mate. Didn't get the big ups. 7 says, help Stel from Sim spell. You're under my spell.
Simios.
I told you, Simios.
Exteliamos.
That's. I'll get that on the back of my shirt, Stella. Was it
Exteliamos? There we go. You're under my spell. Ryan Isaac says, Ange out now or keep him for the season. That's what Ryan says.
Agreed.
Big up Ryan. Howie EIS says, Ange in, but with a short leash. He showed us he can set up defensively. He must show same flexibility in the league, and the team has to attract a first-rate 6 and a left winger. Zach Vosku says, Sav, would you be Ange in if we finished 7th and didn't win a trophy? He finished 5th last season, higher than your prediction, won a trophy this year.
Hang on. He can't conflate where we finished last season with my prediction for this season. They're two different seasons.
No, I'm saying, what was your prediction last season?
My prediction last season was that Spurs would finish 5th.
Oh, fair enough.
And we did. Because I think that's where we should have been. This season I said 7th because of Europe. I didn't think he could handle both, but hey, he couldn't. Would I be happy with 7th and no trophy? No. Not 7th and no trophy. If you're telling me top 4 and no trophy to get back into the top 4, yes. But not every year. And I think that's the point. I agree with Stell on that point, by the way. I agree with Stell. I don't want to become every year doing what Arsenal are doing. But before we worry about that, let's get to that level first, right? Baby steps. Let's get to that level, then worry about not doing it every year. So, no, I wouldn't want 7th and no trophy, but
I'm saying, but so you're saying if this season just gone, because you predicted 7th, right? So if we finished 7th and had no trophy, you'd say move on from him.
I mean, I think it all depends. If he had finished 7th and we'd gone deep in trophies and stuff, I think there's caveats to that, right? Like if you finish 7th but go out of the Europa League in the first 8 games, out in the first round of the League Cup and FA Cup, sure. If you're having some really deep cup runs and you finish 7th after I've predicted 7th, I can't say anything. If you're finishing 10 places below that,
fair enough.
Slightly different.
Terry O'Shea says, can Sim up his expectations on signings instead of doing videos on Tell and Werner's saying it's a good signing than moaning we don't have the right squad when it goes wrong to suit his argument? I like Tell.
Here.
You like Tell? Oh my God.
Here.
I like Tell.
How am I not surprised that you like Tell?
What do you like about Tell? I
I like him. He's got potential. He's fast.
He's terrible.
I think he's shown quite a bit, but he's a teenager. He's young. He's got we've seen like people like Bergvall taking time to adapt. You know, he needs time. It was never going to happen, especially the situation he
So
got
why
thrust
loan
in.
him then? Why would you loan a player that needs time and needs to develop?
Yeah, we were hoping probably for a more immediate impact, but it never happened, unfortunately.
There's
we just
a
needed
reason why
numbers.
Bayern
We
Munich
needed
were
numbers.
willing to let him go out on loan. There's a reason why.
We need
just like
proven,
Leipzig were just like Leipzig were willing to give us Werner on loan.
Yeah, we need proven quality that are going to come in and make a real difference.
Werner, by the way, I
next
said in
season.
the summer I didn't want to re-sign him. I said I didn't want to re-sign him in the summer.
Have you seen the chat, Sim? Have you seen what they're saying? They're saying Sim was doing so well, and then he said that about Tell. In the chat.
Killen2167 says Ben has been trying to talk for 30 minutes straight
On my own show.
on your own show. Phil P says more.
Well, that was me at the start.
Phil P says more Greek blokes than Ange's stag do. and then Phil P says, how come Danny and I weren't invited to a Greek panel? Go on, Sam.
Can I just say, right, Sim, yesterday, when I popped onto your chat for like 5 minutes, right, I saw some bloke said, Sava's just racist against Australians. And I thought to myself, you do know that Ange Postecoglou is the same nationality as me. You do realise that me and Ange are both Greek. Like, these people crack me up, man.
You should be biased towards him, Sava. Why are you betraying one of your own?
Yes,
I'm biased against not losing 26 games. That's what I'm biased against.
Tim, you've got to learn how this works. He's won the Europa, so he's Greek. If he lost it, he's Australian.
You're saying got it. George says we don't have a squad robust or big enough to play in Europe and domestic. Only Enoch and Levy are to blame for that, not the countless managers we've had.
Yes and no.
Been through that.
Yes and no.
Zane Wade says top 4 is not a trophy. Remember that. Essa Al-Shamari says, this is the most heated, passionate debate I've seen in a long time. Love it. But don't you think getting someone like Xavi is even more risky for our season? We never really asked you guys who would you want if we sacked.
I said I wanted
Ange?
Glasner. I want Glasner.
Is Glasner the number one
I agree.
choice?
Yeah,
I
he is
agree,
now.
Glasner.
Yeah, he wasn't before, but he is now.
I think
Is that how you'd want Glasner?
I think Glasner, Xavi, Iriola, Holness of Stuttgart. I think there's so many good managers out there. So, but I'll go with Glasner to stick up with Alex. Glasner, quality manager.
Yeah.
Matty K, just with the sunglasses emoji, big up to him. And Danny Kiriakou, who's in the chat, he says, terrible take from Sim. Oh, gosh. That is an awful pun, Danny. I'm sure you can do better.
Big up to you, Danny. Big up to you, Danny.
That's a shocker. But yeah, it's all super chats.
I think we're going to leave it there for today, guys. But I want to thank Stel, Sava, and Alex for coming on today. Much love to you.
Thank you very much for having me on, boys.
Alex, is the celebrations carrying on into the week?
I've stopped now. I had a 5-day bender, mate. Wednesday night, and then Thursday I was chilling. Friday after the parade, I was with you, Brickies. Didn't leave Brickies till like 2 a.m.
He was seeing Ange Postecoglou on the Brickies. He was seeing
And then Sunday as well, after the Brighton game, I stayed out with some friends after that too and carried on the session. Went to Liverpool Street after as well. So we've had a really good week because it's been very nice celebrating. But now it's time to detox and get off the booze and get back in the gym and get that healthy lifestyle back. Because I've actually got I'm doing a charity fight in July, so I've got to get fit for that. So no more bevs until after that. Yeah.
Wow. Where can people find you, Alex?
On Twitter at Mr. Alex THFC.
Big up, Alex.
And then also the Cyprus flag at Spurs Cyprus flag.
All right. Big up to you, Alex. Sava.
Thank you, boys.
Sava, celebrations carrying on into the week. Did you start celebrating at all?
Not as losing my mind as everyone else was. No. No. The days of celebrating crazy for me are over. I'm too old for all these for drinking sessions and such. But
you're never too old for drinking sessions, Sava, especially after Spurs win a European Cup.
Yeah, the body doesn't handle what it used to handle, mate. Look, I'm just looking forward now that the transfer window we need to start doing some bits. We need to Man U are active, City are active, Liverpool are active, Arsenal are active. That's where my focus is. And I think if we want to have that elite mentality, saying I always used, what's next? Yeah, we won the Europa League. What's next? Don't sit on it. What's next? Who are we going out and buying? What are we doing in the transfer market? What's next?
We never stop. So Sava, let the people, for those of you who don't know, where can people find you, my friend?
I can imagine not one of them is going to subscribe, so this won't matter. But Football Heritage TV, yeah.
It is it's tagged in the title as well if you want to go straight there. And Stelios.
Stel, Legend says you're doing a bender for every day we had for equals a year we had a trophy drought. You're going on a night out after the win.
You got to be out of your mind.
Stel's no, that's how many nights out eating he's going to do.
I see how many nights eating.
Yeah, food. Yeah, I'm up for food.
Stel, thanks for coming on, mate. And let the people know that don't know where they can find you, my friend. I'm sure most people know already.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great to be on the show with all of you guys. Thank you, Tottenham. I've had the best week ever supporting this club. It was just, I wish more people could have experienced Bilbao or something close to it. It was phenomenal. It truly was. Well done to the Spurs fans. We were the best. We shut up Man United in that stadium. We were absolutely outstanding. I never thought we had it in us, but my God, we do. What a club. Parade was generational. What a word, generational. And look, for all of those that want to unsubscribe from my channel because I've changed my view, there are 7 other people on Tottenham Away who all disagree with me and call me Simios now, right? You can listen to them and ignore me. So, up the Spurs.
Rest up that voice, Del. Rest up that voice.
It's gone. It's gone.
Well, big up to all of you. Thanks again for coming on. All you guys in the chat as well. Big up to all of you. We'll see you again very, very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
You